Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS,
I don't have a problem with him, but I don't think he's that and a bag of chips.
BlackGirlMarvel,
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms,
That was like our favorite movie for some reason. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed that movie.
Allthemoviethings,
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The Pre-Review with Blind Biggie,
Hey, this is Blind Biggie. Welcome to the pre-review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I'm the Real Study movie voice guy.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. I am MrSniDBitS, and with me, as always, is BlackGirlMarvel and all the movie things. And we have a new co-host, Tylermakesfilms, also known as just Tyler, but either way. This is season 2 of The Real Study, and we are kicking it off with an all-horror marathon, as well as
Oh, Sam Neill.
more for the rest of the month. And then absolutely Sam Neill, so it's an all Sam Neill evening,
Sam Neill losing his mind.
right?
Man.
One way or another, right?
I can't wait till we get into these because boy, oh boy.
Right?
Okay.
So we've got, let's see, In the Mouth of Madness, 1994, the 1997 Paul W.S. Anderson film Event Horizon, and the 2009 film Daybreakers. And we're going to start with Daybreakers because I know Tyler had some car trouble today, and that's okay. And people have life first. We'll hit Daybreakers, see how long it takes us to get through that so that we can just kind of catch him up. And then we'll move over to the other two films. That said, we're going to move to our new wall here. Oh, it's looking all fancy. Hey, the Beige, nice to see you as well. Everybody is showing up. We appreciate you guys being here. And let's see.
Hey, Parkerman.
Hey, wait. Oh, wait. He's here. He's on the show.
Here we go. He's on the show.
Big reveal. It's me.
That said, why don't we get right into it? And why don't we have, let's see, all the movie things. What did you think of Daybreakers? Had you ever seen it before? And what did you think this time?
You know what was funny? As I was watching it, I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. It was like all coming back. I feel like I've seen it. Like, yeah, I had seen this before, once before. And I don't think it was on my horror movie marathon, but at some point I had seen it. And like in the recent past too. So yeah, and I enjoyed it. It was there are like some effects that are, don't hold up very well. There's specifically some of those car effects, like them jumping cars. Yeah, I was like, oh, that
For 2009, that was sad.
Yeah,
Also,
right?
budgets are different, I guess, but I was like, oosh.
Yeah. But the concept is cool. I love the concepts of that kind of story. Willem Dafoe, I mean, just doing his Willem Dafoe thing.
What if you
Say his name. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Willem
And
Dafoe.
And yeah, no, I enjoyed this one. It was good. I think I enjoyed it just about as much as the first time around. So
All right. How about you, BlackGirlMarvel? What did you think of Daybreakers?
So, like I said before we started, I've seen the trailer to Daybreakers, but I've never seen Daybreakers. And this film was back when, okay, I'm gonna be slightly Mr. Marvel-like because we're the same person essentially. For those of you that don't know what Daybreakers is, because this is what he does.
oh yeah,
all
you
the
always,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a mini recap.
Yeah, a little mini recap. I want to give everybody a little mini recap. I kind of missed that. So Daybreakers is a film that takes place in the future where the world is overrun by vampires, and it's honestly like our lives. It's literally what's happening now. I would just have to put people in the vampires place and regular humans or whatever. But Ethan Hawke plays this vampire hematologist who has sympathy for humans, and along with Willem Dafoe and a very pretty face. I don't know her name, but she's quite pretty. 'Cause that's what can get you to change on your whole race is a pretty girl.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying they Willem Dafoe plays a former vampire who, by like a freak accident, found the cure to vampirism, and they use Ethan Hawke's hematologist to kind of like try to save the human race and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Sam Neill plays a guy who don't want him saved. So he's like, let's kill all the humans, and we don't really care about synthetic blood, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah, and that was the kind of the thing that he was
yeah.
trying to, that Ethan Hawke was trying to do, was make the
With the
synthetic blood, so we
yeah.
didn't have to use human blood because, you know, because he
Yeah.
was sympathetic.
Because like the humans were dying out. I think like the population only had like 5% humans, if I remember the movie correctly.
Right.
And so Sam Neill's character at the end, plot twist, you find out that he don't really care about humans, obviously, but he more cared about the bottom line and money, just like any corporation. And he was willing to step and or kill anybody to get to it. And that's what led to his inevitable death himself. Spoiler alert, sorry. I've never seen this movie before. So. I know, right? If you haven't watched it now, no, I'm not judging. But
it's just a spoiler-filled show. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. But I didn't know what to think about this film. It has a very certain aesthetic in like the way that it's shot, the way that it's looked, the world building. It's very, very 2009. It's very we want to be Matrix, but we don't want to seem like we're copying.
Yeah. What's funny too is like if you look at some of the, you know, like when a movie's finished, you're streaming it, they'll suggest a bunch of other movies. It suggested Equilibrium, which is so like the look, like
no, it is the look. Equilibrium is the maybe that's
like,
where my brain went. Was like
well, Equilibrium wanted to be the Matrix, and then Daybreakers wants to be Equilibrium, so it's really just 2 degrees, you know.
I mean, well, yeah, just 2. All in all, I thought it was a decent film. Like the plot was kind of basic, like if you strip away the vampire, like the sci-fi part of it, it's like a typical, like, we don't like corporations, our world is going to hell type of film. Like it's very you know what I'm saying? It could have been like Fahrenheit 9/11 but with vampires. Like it was very
it was like high concept but like simple plot.
You know, like very simple plot. And I was like, but you had good actors, so it made up for that, because that end shot with Willem Dafoe, I was like, you Willem Dafoe for a reason. I like that.
I know.
I like that scene at the end there, guy.
The last moment in the movie, I'm like, really? I felt like they just kind of went, here we go. Just kind of quickly placed an ending on it rather than giving us something to sink our teeth into. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Yeah. I felt it coming. I really did.
Vampires.
Wow. You guys. He's been gone for a while, you guys.
This is our first episode back, so yeah.
That all these films are for me left something to be desired. All 3. Like because I feel like, except for like 80s, other ones were like 2011, 2000, like 1997.
94, 97, and 2009.
87. Something like that. No. Okay. Yeah. So like all of them for me, I was like, maybe this is why I haven't watched them. Like it was I had like very much that kind of reaction. But I enjoyed myself. But you can go ahead, Tyler. I mean, for the little bit that did you see any of it? Like any of it?
No, I did see the trailer though. I will say, like, just from the trailer alone, I thought, if I hadn't looked at the director, I was like, is this another Paul W.S. movie?
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it.
It gave Resident Evil vibes.
It did.
Especially with like
or 30 Days of Night.
It gave especially with like the creatures, like just like how they were. I will say all the movies, practical effects were I enjoyed the practical effects with mixing in with like the bit of CGI and stuff, because like in Daybreakers they have like, which I thought like even like some of their like lore, like mythology, were like I enjoyed it because it was different from like other vampire stuff that I've seen before, and I watch a lot of vampire stuff. I'm a girl, obviously. I like vampires. But like the whole thing about if they don't feed, like, okay, any other vampire thing I've ever seen, from Buffy to Angel to anything, if vampires don't eat, they desiccate. Like the Vampire Diaries, everything. They don't eat, they dry out, become like these husks, and they eventually die. But in Daybreakers, if they don't eat, they literally turn into like humanoid bats.
They become ghouls,
And I thought that was the coolest thing.
Sounds
I was like
zombie vampires.
Yeah, and they'll eat anything. Like they'll eat their own. Like they'll
eat themselves. Yeah, they're eating on themselves. Yeah.
And then it was like, and then it's like that's interesting too, because it's like eating on yourself like is poisonous,
Yeah.
eat on yourself. It was just like it was just very interesting, like their take on like blood and how it works, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
just
I
the
like
lore
that.
about vampire. I thought that was super cool because I was like, does nobody see Ethan Hawke's ear turning into?
Mhm.
It's like
Right.
point.
I
'Cause
know.
that was one of the symptoms. Like if you didn't eat human blood, you didn't drink human blood, your slowly your ears are get pointy, and then your face will start to like kind of like desiccate and go back, but you would turn into like this humanoid bat. And I just slowly saw like one ear on Ethan Hawke. I'm like, so nobody cares that bro it might spaz out and eat everybody? Nobody.
I mean,
Like,
everybody was kind of going through it because they were short on that. All the blood was short. They were
Yeah.
even reducing it to 5% coffee or 5% blood in your coffee. Which who wants blood in their
Yeah.
coffee? I don't know. That's not a good.
vampires,
That's not
I
a good
mean,
Starbucks. But
I would
don't
think
know.
vampires.
Don't knock it till you try it. I've like.
I mean, if it's True
dabbled.
Blood, maybe you know.
Mm,
True Blood, yeah.
And there was a bit of kind of that True Blood-esque where that's the synthetic blood they were going for. They were
The
basically
synthetic
trying to
blood,
make
yeah.
True Blood. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's a great action horror film because it does have some aspects that are freaky when the ghoul comes in and attacks Ethan Hawke's character in his home. That whole scene is just gross and
Oh,
over the
yeah,
top
that was
and
good,
kind of
yeah.
wonderful. And they did a
It's
good
so
job
good.
of
They're
making it
so
feel,
strong.
you know,
They're
they
so
really are.
strong.
But they do a good job of making it where you can tell when they're vampires or not. When Ethan Hawke is and isn't a vampire, it is ridiculously obvious. Like I don't know how.
No, totally.
It's not just his
Yeah, yeah.
eyes. They did something
Even his
else.
hair.
Yeah, his hair.
Even his
Everything
hair
was a little
like,
different.
Yeah.
But the aesthetic of the film, even at night or even during the day, it felt like the world was vampires, so the sun was stronger to us because we were trying to see it from their perspective. It felt very
Mhm.
radiation just everywhere.
I was gonna say it felt like there's a pretty heavy color grade done to
Yeah.
this.
Right.
But I mean, but think about it though. Wouldn't it be because the world slowly been losing humans? And we're not like there's not like a lot of oxygen intake, so there's a lot of like everything in the sky, and it's possible that the sun affects that in a way, and that's probably why he was able to find like this like odd penicillin like cure, you know, like a weird, just a oopsie daisy of a cure.
Didn't they oopsie daisy
Burn me
twice even in this film?
If you
They
Well,
accidentally
here's the
found
thing.
it and then accidentally found it again.
Yeah, because that was the only thing I didn't like. Like okay, I'm all about like prophecies and like, you know, ancient ones and all this kind of stuff. But I just didn't like the fact that they were like water and sunlight is the cure for vampirism. Like that's all it was. Like he was like he burnt to a crisp essentially by the sun, and then he dunked in some water, and then he got cured. And I was just like, so we're not gonna. I was like, maybe that specific water is special. Like I was like, maybe that specific water is special. But then when they were running experiments, he just had a bucket of water, just plain old. It ain't blessed by Jesus or nothing. It was just a plain old bucket of water, and I was just like, so nobody's going to explain how it works. Like nobody's going to be like the radiation.
The thing I took from it, it was almost
water.
It was almost like a shock to their system. Like it mattered about how much time they were exposed to it, and then shut off from the sun. And it was almost like they were getting, you know,
like
jolts.
like
Yeah,
resuscitated.
exactly. And
that's what happens when Ethan Hawke goes through it like 3 or 4 times.
Brian,
So
you better give me something, Brian. Come on, man. You better, because I was sitting here like, what are we doing? What is it? Is it the sun rays mixed with the water driplets?
it was the fire.
I mean,
it was the fire and the timing. I think the two
So
combined.
it's kind of like a cleansing, like
burning the evil spirit of the vampire away, almost like it was blocking the heartbeat.
Right.
What I want to know is how the hearts beat after all that, like how that muscle's working after that. So I don't know. That's a weird one.
But hey.
But I mean, hey, it's vampires.
A world of vampires. Yeah.
That work?
So for me, there was a couple of moments where they intentionally went after some serious vampire cliches and for seemingly no reason. Why were there bats in this movie? Anybody?
Oh, I wanted to shoot that one bat.
I mean, yes, but it came like the one just showing up
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like random
I felt like it was duck hunt. I just wanted to be like, boom, boom. I wanted to shoot that duck so bad.
I don't know. It kind of, I don't know.
I felt like they made humanoid bats. You having this lone bat, if it's not like central to the story, what was the point? I don't know. I think they were aesthetically trying to do something. It didn't work. Me first. Well, me a snitty.
No, it didn't really work for me either. I did like how evil Sam Neill's character was. I did like that he ultimately even killed his own daughter. twice. I mean, he turned into a vampire, and he turns her into a vampire against her will because she had run away from him as a child.
The sun.
And then when she wouldn't turn and turned herself ghoulish, he drug her onto the sun with every other ghoul.
I'm not gonna lie, every single one of these movies have changed my mind completely about Sam Neill. Like as I don't know, but as a person, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, no, he does.
Because you see him in Jurassic Park, and he's a little curmudgeon in Jurassic Park, but he's still like, you understand why. Like, you're not mad at it. You're like, I'm sort of like this dude because this is cool being around these dinosaurs, but y'all messing with stuff y'all should be messing with. So you kind of feel him on that. These other three movies, I'm like, yo.
So no, it's funny because we all grew up with Jurassic Park, and these movies weren't, on our radar as much. I was an adult for all of these, but it wasn't. They didn't hit the same way that Jurassic Park did when I was 16. So that's the way I see Sam Neill is Dr. Grant. And so seeing him in these, or even going back to The Omen or a few other movies he's done, it's like, whoa, he's played a really not great guy more often than not, which is weird. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I mean, the only other movie I remember him from was like, I just watched Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh yeah,
Taika Waititi. Yeah,
like his,
totally different Sam Neill.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. Yeah.
What kind of character does he play?
He plays dad, like a dad.
He's like a mentor figure,
a hardened dad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That might be one to put into the fold.
It's a nice cleanser for these three.
Yeah, for sure.
Man,
he's a New
listen.
Zealand actor too, so that makes sense.
I know it's not as good, but it's still a cleansing for me. I had to watch some NCIS after this, man, because I binge watched all of these like from like 4 o'clock.
NCIS is your palate cleanser.
That's my palate.
Wow, okay. That's one way.
That shows you me up here a little bit. That gives you a little insight. But yeah, I had to like watch some NCIS and watch them do some corny stuff for me, because Sam Neill, man, like, whew. It's like the scene in Daybreakers when, is it Daybreakers? I think it's Daybreakers. They're all Sam Neill, so I'm just like trying to figure out which one. Like too much Sam Neill, like overload of Sam Neill. But I think it's Daybreakers when he's sitting on. I think it is Daybreakers because the aesthetic was very gray and dark. He was sitting on the table, like he was like doing something on the table, and he was talking. Yeah, he was sitting on the table. He was talking to Ethan Hawke's brother. He's like trying to have a conversation with him, and it's just like it was so good. Like the way Sam moved throughout the whole thing, like he just looked menacing, but in a very in a way that you wouldn't if you were next to him, he were talking to you, you wouldn't think he was, but something about him would be frightening that you would be like, okay. It was just something the way he moved, like he just turned his neck in a certain way, and I was like, I don't like this, Sam.
I mean, that's like we're gonna get to Event Horizon, but Dr. Weir is.
Yo,
my God!
I watched that one last. So I was when you put that in the Discord, I was like, man, is he the worst?
He is the worst. Like you,
we'll get there, but he's the worst.
We will get to it. Let's see what else about Daybreakers. I don't know. It felt to me, it definitely felt flat.
Ethan Hawke was until this movie.
Oh, he's definitely prettier in this movie than in others.
Super
but
pretty in this movie. It's like the eyes, like
his yellow eyes really brought it out. So
honestly, this movie is crazy to me because I've watched so many like vampire lore like stuff that I'm like, did Stephanie Meyer get the gold eyes from Daybreakers?
Right.
I was like, because they had, and then it's like his name's Edward. I was like, wait a minute.
And he was pro-human, right? He didn't want to hurt humans. Yeah.
He didn't want to hurt humans. And then on top of that, too, he found a little brown-haired, pale girl to like, come on.
Yeah.
I was like, is she human? What's happening? What's going on? But I like the difference. You can see the difference between like Vampire him and like, it was a very distinct difference. Yeah. Like the glowy eyes aside, it was like even the wardrobe, like how they put his clothes on, because like as a vampire he was more put
together, and
he's more put together, and then as a human he was just disheveled. And then I was like, maybe that's our lot in life, just disheveled humans.
Yeah,
because we don't know what we're doing, like just disheveled. But his daughter, the Sam Neill's character, his daughter was like, I didn't understand her purpose. I felt like she was just thrown in. Like they were trying to give like some heart to this. And I was like, why is this random girl getting all this play in this movie? I was like, I'm not understanding. And then you do see that she's like the catalyst to get the brother to kind of like flip. Yeah. Because you changed me. This because like the brother has an outlook of like, I love being a vampire.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I sucked at being human,
Very
right?
loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah, very loyal.
He's like, I sucked at being human. This is me at my best. Everybody should want to be this. And then by turning that girl and she didn't want it and all of that, like whatever she was going through, all of that, like self-imposed, and like to see his work messed him up. Like to see what he turned somebody else into, like messed him up. So his sacrifice at the end was like a very noble sacrifice that he was just like trying to talk to him,
it kind of
but
spurred on the like
the cure
to keep going. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tyler,
but
just
that's
so you know,
crazy, though.
just so you know, after they finally figured out the like throw the get them on fire, throw them in the water, they are cured.
Right.
If you bite
their
one of
blood
those
changes.
humans, it's a cure for the rest of the vampires.
It's a cure for the rest
yeah.
of them. You turn
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
And they found that out by
Which
Which
accident.
was like the big reveal.
Right.
Which is
Sam Neill.
also
Oh.
a
Yeah.
Vampire Diaries thing. That
Oh.
happened with Vampire
Oh,
Diaries.
funny.
I'm just
Well, I mean, they're kind of
That
regurgitating those,
comedy.
100-year-old tropes at this point. So,
yeah, I'm just saying, man. I was like, this is like the cure for the Vampire
Before
Diaries.
Daybreakers, I didn't know anything about like it possible like, oh, if there's a cure, then the blood changes, and if someone bites you, then so before Daybreakers, I'd never heard of that concept.
It's like reverse zombies.
Oh, I have.
it is like reverse
yeah,
zombies. Yeah, you become
It
human if
is.
you bite an infected human, uninfected human,
Infected vampire.
uninfected vampire. That's a better way to put it. That's
but
right.
But the messed up part about it is though, right? They could still kill you, and then you.
Oh yeah,
maybe
yeah. 'cause
I
you
mean,
see,
yeah.
like,
You know what I mean?
You still
Because,
die,
like,
even though
like,
you're
you can
curing
still
them.
Die.
But
If it's,
they'll-
like
but
okay, like if it's
they'll
one of them, because the
lose
way
their
it happened
power.
with Ethan Hawke, it was like with Ethan Hawke, like he goaded, he baited Sam Neill's character to pretty much fight him.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but it was still like an immense amount of blood. I really feel like 09 had so much blood. I was like, geez Louise, but that seems like a carotid artery
I
with
mean,
all
we
that
do
blood.
have quite a bit of blood in our bodies.
He should
Yeah,
be dead.
many liters.
Yeah.
He should be dead. But it was like, and then he turned and he was just like, what did you do to me? But I'm like, for him to be able to smell her blood in the cup and be like, she has a different scent for her blood.
That's
I'm
old
like,
school.
you
That's
didn't-
Dracula. Even Dracula
That's
could
very
smell.
old
Yeah.
school. It smelled like the, and I was like, for him to be able to do that, I was like, but you could, at first bite, you ain't smell a little different to my boy's foot. You did.
Yeah, but how many drops of
Man,
I mean, it would have been too late by
vampiric
then 'cause
blood.
he's already
Yeah,
fighting them.
it's a good point.
I mean, but
they would
I
never
get it
smell
too.
it.
They didn't have like, I don't know. He was hungry, I guess. So
He just
Maybe
had.
Samuel was just in the moment, right?
I think he
Yeah.
goaded him by talking about how he sucked with his, he sucked. There I go again.
that's hilarious.
That he didn't care about his daughter, that he had her killed, that he was just a piece of shit, and
he
he really
goaded him.
goaded him by getting to his
Yeah.
emotions. So it was a little more than that, but yeah.
I like that they tried to reveal it like after the fact, like
We didn't know.
because it was like the brother found
He was
them,
going back and forth.
and
so
it was
they're
going like back and forth. So like the
they're
brother
cutting back
found
and forth
them, and
between- yeah.
you would think that the brother was going to kill him, but then Ethan Hawke talked his brother down. But then he just smelled, because he hasn't had blood in a while, because his ear was turning like batty too. He saw Willem Dafoe's character and just pounced on him and drank his blood. And Willem Dafoe is the first cured, like cured vampire, like former vampire. And so like his brother changed, and I was like, when he stared, he was about to kill him, and he just stared at him. I was like, is he human now? Because my brain's 2022, so I'm like, is he human now? And I'm like, and then it cuts to Ethan Hawke with this whole new renewed confidence. He walks into this building, and the whole chain of events happen where Sam Neill bites him, and all these like things happen, and then they cut back to the brother being healed and Willem Dafoe telling the
and Willem
story. Because
Dafoe's,
you
like,
need Willem Dafoe to
talking.
tell the story. You need Willem Dafoe to talk movie.
You do a lot.
Well, he's
And
telling the whole story
You
about
need
how
him
it
to tell a story in a movie. You have to. He just has the
minimum
voice
one
for it.
monologue. Just
I'm not
Yes.
sure why they needed to call him Elvis, but whatever. I'll run with it on this one.
I think it's because he quoted Elvis at the end, but again, they didn't really put any
Yeah.
setup in that, so
Mm-mm.
it just fell flat to me.
This felt like a
If he was
movie that
quoting Elvis all the time, then I would get it.
Right.
But
this felt like a movie that was trying to set up a universe, and then at the end went, nah.
I can see that.
It just felt.
it sounds like
bigger.
It's like what is the runtime like?
It's
This
actually
sounds
like an
a
hour
lot.
It wasn't that
50.
long.
It's an hour 50,
Yeah.
I think. It's longer
No,
than it was
it's
the
an
longest
hour-
movie of the evening
No,
of
it's
our.
an hour 30. Hour
Yeah.
30s. All these movies are hour 30 something. Nothing goes past an hour 40.
Hour 38.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an hour 38. It goes hour 38, 37, 35, I think. Because that's how I watch my movies. I go from the longest to the
36,
figure,
35,
like, that
36,
sounds like a
38.
lot.
That's really, really,
Crazy.
wow. Those are all really the same length. These are the shortest films we've ever really done.
No, like literally, like I was surprised. Like I had like a sketch show rehearsal. I got home at 4. I was literally last night. I was like, so they like 3 hours, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, hours. I was like really calculating. I was like, I should be done by like 9 o'clock. I was literally done at 9:04. I was like, oh,
You could
it's
watch
pretty good.
one extended Lord of the Rings movie and basically get all 3 of these in the same amount of time. That's that's weird.
Yeah.
Not sure how I feel about that. So, did anything else stand out as, you know, I don't know. I didn't get any emotion out of this film. I didn't really.
Oh, there's
It
no
didn't
emotion. I didn't
draw
care about
me
nobody.
in. Exactly. It
I
didn't.
didn't care
It
about,
didn't draw
I didn't care
anything
about a
out for me.
single soul.
Yeah. No.
It,
Or there's the part where there's the unreasonable explosion of a Humvee for no reason, where it like smacks into a metal pole, kills the vampire, and then all of a sudden the whole car explodes. I'm like, I hate those
Like all that
tropes.
blood.
I call it the Michael Bay treatment.
There you go.
That's what I call it.
Or
Michael Bay treatment.
them exploding and catching fire in the sun makes sense, but you stab them with a stake and they explode. I didn't understand that either.
No, I think that steak is I think it's flammable, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is. I think
It was
it's
a chair.
No, I think it's like because they were stabbing everybody with like
Oh, the cattle
electrocuting
prods.
thingy. Yeah, that were like blowing people up. But I will say though, the graphics was very Buffy. It was very Buffy graphics. Like those first couple seasons before they got a budget, it was very Buffy. It was just, I was like, oh, that's sad. I was like, this is sad to watch.
Yeah.
but I was
Creature
like,
effects
it's
were
fine.
cool, but those were practical.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my god, the practical effects were so great because like the humanoid Batmans, because they were bad people.
Yeah, well, like going back to that, like Ethan Hawke's house, that whole sequence was really great.
The witch sequence?
Yeah, at the house. Yeah, at the house.
In Ethan Hawke's house, that whole sequence was really great with that when the creature walks in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was the creepiest part.
He's up on the ceiling and like cut him open and everything, and then like
it was super gratuitous. It was like it was just so much blood to the point where Ethan Hawke's character was just like, he just threw the chair and walked away. I was like, I would have did the same thing. Was who cleaning this up? It was blood everywhere. I was like, who's doing this? Who's cleaning this up? Because I'm leaving. Right? Or days.
That's a I don't know. Yeah, you know, I agree.
But I agree, Snitty, there was no heart. It was and they kind of wanted you to feel for the brother, but again, it was kind of like they just threw us into this world and didn't really set up anything really for us to get attached to people.
Well, they knew they were going to end it on a quick, just boom, you know, end. And I still felt like it needed 10 more minutes to like what happens next. It's not open-ended enough for me to fill in the blanks, I guess.
Yeah, I would have liked a thing at the end where it'd be like, in the days since
the
world has since changed. Like, I would have liked that. You know how like they put stuff up or somebody.
It took them 3 years, but they managed to get, to get them taken care of.
Because the way that it kind of ends is with like all these military men essentially feeding off of each other. So like the brother has the cure, he saves his brother and the girl by letting them feed on him, and then they all become humans. But then the other military vampires that come in are like human blood, so they kill them, and then out of all of them, like 3 or 4 of them are left, and then they die.
Well, no, there was like 4 or 5 left that were just human, that were like shaking even. They were like, oh, I'm human again.
They died.
Oh, they got shot. No, that's right. Dude comes in.
And shot him.
The other hematologist comes in and just guns everybody down.
He's
I'm like,
can't be a cure. And then like Willem Dafoe was like, fuck you. Okay.
I don't think I'm going to count that as an F-bomb. She kind of flubbed it there. She flubbed it. I'm kidding, of course.
Because I got a good one coming up.
Oh, well, I like it. So looking at the directors, Biggie brought up the directors in the chat there. Apparently, they were the ones that did Winchester. Highly disappointing. They also did Pedestrian, which I did not see. And they did one of my favorite zombie films ever, which was Undead, the zombie, Australian zombie film that I'm not going to reveal because it's got... He said he loved the director, so I just looked it up. But they did Undead, and it's the girl with the what is it? The gas mask and a triple shotgun on the cover. You might have seen it before, but It's a fun little film that goes into zombies in a very different way. So it kind of makes sense they flipped the vampire genre on its head. So, and yes, so it looks like Justine showed up as well. She also likes Daybreakers, fun movie, loves Ethan Hawke, loves Defoe. Who doesn't love Defoe?
Oh yeah, who doesn't love Defoe?
People that thinks
I'm
his
sure
name
some
is
people out
William,
there.
maybe, I don't know.
William
Defoe.
Defoe.
Yeah. So why don't
They're
we
like William Defoe.
why don't we go ahead and rate the film? Because I don't know, unless anybody else has anything else they want to say about it. Brian, you got anything else you want to touch base on with this?
No.
Defoe equals national treasure. I think we can all agree with that. Oh, no wonder you went by Elvis. His name is Lionel in this film. And I would have gone by Elvis too. Okay.
Was I supposed to, is that like Elvis's real name?
No, I would never want to be named Lionel, so I would probably go by something else too, but that's just me.
Weird. Who wants, oh, that's still weird. It doesn't make sense.
And Cormac. Yeah, no, that's a weird one. Okay.
It didn't really like bug me that it was called Elvis. Like,
I mean, I cared, but I didn't care
and the
at
bats
the same time.
wasn't a thing for me either. I was just like, okay.
No, the bat was
those
like,
are all just like really small things to kind of like.
yeah. When it first started, and the bat went up, I was like, oh, okay. They want to do like a transition thing with the bat because it's Daybreakers. And then the bat came back to scare Willem Dafoe. And then the bat came. I was like, listen, kill the bat because there's no reason for this bat to be back 3 times.
Well, how do we know if there's even bats in their area? Where does this even take place? I know that it takes place in 2019, but where? It's some desert somewhere. They didn't really say. They didn't really get into that.
Don't say Vegas. What happens in Vegas?
We'll call it Vegas. I like that. Go ahead, all the movie things. What is your rating for this film? Oh, why don't we go over the rating system since Tyler, this is his first evening. Do you want to break it down for us, all the movie things? How do we do the rating system?
We do it on a 10-point scale. And it's pretty subjective. It's like whatever your own 10-point scale is. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, and like some of us have a thing where we never give a movie a 10 or we give it, as close as we can. But yeah, and like Lala has very specific things on like if she's gonna watch a movie more than once, then she'll give it a certain score and above. And then there's like we do like how we watched it today, and then we also have like our 12-year-old self. Would our 12-year-old selves have watched this when we were young?
Oh.
Kind of thing. And what would we rate them?
And what would you rate it as your 12-year-old self?
Has there ever been a 10 on the show? I'm not sure if I ever.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Not for me mainly, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, like a lot of.
Not for me either, but
I throw a lot of 10s.
Close.
I've only given one movie a 10. I think that was Us. I gave Us a 10.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But Brian, you've never had 1 10 on the show that I remember?
No, I've had close. I've had like a 9.8 or 9.9 or something.
I like it. I like it. Well, okay. So what about Daybreakers? What do you rate Daybreakers? And would you have watched this at 12?
Yeah, I think I probably would have watched it at 12. Yeah, because I mean, I was watching horror movies when I was like, 7 or 8. So like all those 80s horror movies I was definitely watching. And this one I'd probably give a 7. It was enjoyable. I mean, it wasn't like knock out the park kind of thing, but yeah.
But
it
if
wasn't enough like take me out of it.
Right. If the significant other was like, hey, can we watch Daybreakers? You would say, sure, let's put that on.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I mean, I wouldn't like rewatch it like once a year, like once a year type things, or like, like Hocus Pocus, I'll watch once a year, or like When Harry Met Sally, those kind of films I'll watch annually. Daybreakers is not like oh God, it's that time of year. I got to watch Daybreakers.
That's hilarious.
No, it makes sense though. I feel
like
the same way.
7's like, it's pretty good. It's an enjoyable thing. So
watchable would be a good word for it.
Watchable. Like if it was like a 5, I'd be like, man, don't waste your time. But
if you catch it on like Spike TV, is Spike TV still a thing, or like ABC or something?
TV, yeah, it could be on Spike TV. I think, yeah,
it might be. It almost feels like a Spike TV production in a sense. I don't know, to some degree. I don't know. How about you, La? What would be your rating?
I'll give this a 6.5 because I won't watch it again ever. I won't be like Brian said, I won't be like, oh, it's that time again. It's that time of year. Let me get that Daybreakers. Like I can't, like I won't do that. It has some nice elements. Like I said, the only thing that really let me down was the plot. The plot was very simplistic, and I know for a fact that this is not one of those movies where they're like, it's figure it out for yourself. We won't, we will only drop bread. This wasn't one of those movies. I just felt like they just forgot stuff. But I did read that he had Paul W.S. Anderson had a very full, like 130-minute or something like that.
Well, that's for Event
version.
Horizon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Event Horizon. Okay, never mind then. Never mind then. I was getting them mixed up.
Yeah, this is a couple of
never mind
Australian filmmakers.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, never mind. Never mind then. It's too many Sam Neill. It's too much Sam Neill going around. I can't keep it all together.
It's weird because with Brendan Fraser, we were able to easily parse those films out and have no problem. But because they're all horror and they're all him being kind of dark,
it's like super specific.
Well, also, it's like I feel like all of those movies, Brendan Fraser was a very different person. Each every one of those movies.
Oh yeah.
Whereas in this could be like an anthology of a character. Like he just changed his identity over the course of these like years or something. I could make him work if you give me time. I can make him work. I give it a 6.5 because
another thing too that's interesting is like something had to happen to him to turn. Like he turned.
Yeah.
He maybe not necessarily wasn't always like this.
He didn't start that way, but
something happened.
Yeah, something happened for him to like flip the switch. You're right about that. A 12-year-old.
What, you're saying he wasn't a corporate hack before he was a vampire? He might have always just been a corporate hack.
I don't know. I mean, there wasn't necessarily like. I mean, I guess we don't know how long this vampire thing has been going on. No.
But think about it though. Brian's still right. In the beginning, he went from being like, "Hey, just bring your brother back. He's very integral. We love him. We need him. He's a great guy." And then it was just like, "Dude, beat you to the cure. Peace out, bro." Like, it was just, I don't need you no more. So it's just like Brian's still right. He's still on the money. Like he was just like, he's just like, bring him back. It was very. He flipped. He flipped very. Very, very
well, he flipped when he went and looked at his cattle supply and found there was none left. Like he was kind of done at that point.
Like desperate.
Yeah,
right?
he was staring. He was like staring at nobody. But it's honestly, and he was crazy though. He wanted to make money off his own, which is still a testament to like this us
which
nowadays. He was like, it ain't about synthetic blood. I ain't about us like surviving. It's about me getting this money from them. Because they're going to keep buying this crap. It's like, it's going to help them for a little bit, and then it's going to die down, and they're going to keep buying it. So, care about the rest of this. Like, he flipped quite quick. If I was 12-year-old me probably would watch this, but 12-year-old me probably wouldn't like this. 12-year-old me, because it was just like, there was no love. There was like, there wasn't a kid. Like, there was nothing for like 12-year-old me to cling.
Yeah, that's funny.
To be like, I could see myself in this. Like, there wasn't even a black person. Like one.
There was like, one New Zealander.
Like,
oh yeah.
Boba Fett was in this movie.
Oh, he was.
And and I was sad to see him go. I was like, oh no.
He was like a senator or something.
Yeah, he was like he's a vampire senator at that. I was like, that's a progression. But yeah, 12-year-old me would have been like 2. Like 12-year-old me would have so disappointed. Like, where are the princesses? Where's Tarzan?
No, they didn't even get into like the part of what makes vampire lore interesting is the the sexualized or like innuendo nature of them, and they didn't even touch any of that in this. Like which was weird because they could have, but they avoided it completely. Yeah, which
actually like
I'm not saying it would have been better, but it's still
I would agree.
I don't know.
Like, I think it would have been one of those things they would have shoehorned in there. Then it would have been like.
But they shoehorned in bats, so I don't know. I think they could have shoehorned more in there.
It wasn't part of the plot.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I have a thing with the bats. I don't know. I can't let them go.
He's knocking 0.5 points down for the bats. Wow.
Yeah, this is a 3-5 just because of the bats. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of bats, she's in the chat. If you guys didn't see. Speaking of bats, let's see for myself.
What about you?
I'm going to say this is a 5. The first time I saw it, it probably would have been a 7, but I think I'm more cynical about it, and it has nothing to do with the bats. It just fell flat. It was just so one note all the way through. Ethan Hawke's like the best part, which is weird because it has Sam Neill and Willem Dafoe. So it's weird that he's the best part.
Yeah, I mean, he is like pretty much like the main protagonist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't even think he's the best part for me. He like, if I'm being all the way honest, his brother is more interesting. Like the like that dichotomy in his brother, like when his brother brought up the fact that like he wasn't a good, he's a good vampire. I was like, now that's the story you base.
I guess he had more of an arc.
You base a movie around, because it was just like Ethan Hawke went from like this very like unenthused vampire to a very unenthused human, and
that's
his
fair.
arc was like boop. Like, yeah,
you know, his arc was very much like
just a little bump.
Well, the little bump is when he turns to flames for a moment. That whole scene's a little exciting.
Yeah,
it's the most exciting scene in the movie, I think.
He's pretty neutral for the whole thing.
I didn't think he was a bad lead, but I was just like, this is why people fall in love with like villains, right? Because villains have layers, and 9 out of 10 your hero don't have layers. So his brother had layers, and I was just like I felt like him, and then like Sam Neill's character just had some layers, and then the first one, so ironically, Whim, that was more interesting than than Hawke's character, because they didn't set up any precedent from him being a human. I couldn't really cling to him as like a leading man. Like there was nothing for me to cling, because I don't care if you don't drink humans. Why not, bruh? Like you're not telling us why. Like, were you?
Well, he was never
so. You never really liked the
to be
sight of
fair,
blood,
he was changed against his will, so he was never for doing this in the first place.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So that's the thing with this film, is that they give you like one line of dialogue to fill in the gaps. The same thing with Sam Neill's daughter. One short little line of dialogue, and then we see the girl, and okay, it's his daughter.
He just kept stalking her for a minute. I didn't know who she was. I was like, who was this chick he got pictures of? Who he keeping tabs on? And then she was like, I was like, oh, that's gross. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm done. What's your rating though?
So it's a 5. And then if I was a kid watching this, I probably would have really liked this. Actually, this probably would have been an 8 if I was 12. Just because I would have been like, ooh, vampires, action, oh, the sun, fire. Look at the cattle prods, I don't know.
But it was barely action too. If you really
I know,
think about
it's
it.
like it's like
barely action,
action-ish horror.
It was action light. It was just like
diet action, if you will.
Diet action. We're gonna sprinkle a little action on you, a whole bunch of sadness from all the characters, and just some hopelessness, and boom, boom, Daybreakers, baby. Put some vitamin D in there. Good.
I love it. All right. That said, Tyler, we do, of course, hope that one day you can watch this and let us know what your review was. But based upon what we've said, do you want to watch it?
Probably got a lot from it already.
Do you want to see it?
I mean, just from the trailer alone, I told it gave me the Paul W.S. Anderson vibe, and like I realized he doesn't have a whole lot of bangers. I love the Resident Evil franchise, but not because it's good, like because it's funny.
The first one's okay.
First one's fine.
Yeah, I like the very first one.
Second one was
just like
terrible.
To me, the Resident Evil franchise makes up for everything based on its choreography, fight choreography. Because to me, it's the Fast and the Furious of fight choreography. It gets crazier and crazier every movie. You'd be like, all right, now how she done flipped and somebody died, but she's still alive. Like, it's a whole thing.
All right.
I like the fight. The plot is always the same. Every movie has the same plot. Every movie has the same plot. Like every game has the same plot. That didn't bother me. I like the kung fu fight. I really want to. Love the Krav Maga.
Which is funny because like in the games you don't do any of that.
Right. In the original games, it was all like it was a mystery, and it was like
it's all first person, third person, like
right.
It's all
with weapons. Yeah, there's no crazy cool stylistic fighting.
Yes, I am.
Well, on that note, I think we should. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
I was just gonna say, if they remake Daybreakers, maybe now, like maybe I'll go watch it. It'd probably be funny.
So they should get Ethan Hawke to play the Sam Neill character this time, just as a throwback. I think it'd be fun. And maybe put a little bit more into it. I don't know. So we actually have two new, we have our old segment of pre-review, which is being done by none other than Blind Biggie. And he'll be doing that every week for us. So we're going to show that. And then we also have a new segment by I can't talk right now. Cellphone WalletKeys, who is the Real Steady movie voice guy. He does the intros you've heard. He does all of our promos, which we love him, and we're glad he's able to actually do something for the show now. But it's a segment that he did on TikTok, or does on TikTok, called Did You Know? And so we'll be moving to both of those, and then we're going to come back and discuss In the Mouth of Madness and Event Horizon with Tyler and the crew, and we'll be back here in just a minute.
The pre-review with Blind Biggie. The pre-review with Blind Biggie.
Hey, this is Blind Biggie. Welcome to the pre-review. This is the first episode with me, your host, Blind Biggie. This is where I tell you about what's coming out in the movie theaters and beyond. Week October 3rd through the 9th. Starting with October 5th, airing on Netflix, is Mr. Harrigan's Phone. This is a horror suspense film. This has to do with a teenager becoming friends with an elderly man who continues to make contact with him after his death via cell phone.
This movie looks fantastic. It has Jaden Martell and Donald Sutherland and an iPhone Gen 1. It looks super creepy and intense, honestly. If you're a fan of horror mysteries, I think this is going to be right up your alley. All these weird things keep happening after Mr. Harrigan passes away.
Looks very suspenseful. Next on our list is Monster High, the movie, from Paramount Plus. This movie takes a look at the original classic characters in this all-new setting of live action. It looks very mysterious, and it's a definite fantasy action film. Also on October 6th is Terrifier 2. Now, when I tell you that the original movie was super gory, like to the point of madness, I mean it.
Available on Screenbox after a theatrical release, this movie takes place 6 years after the original and tells the story of a sister and her brother. The brother is obsessed with Art the Clown. And Art the Clown makes his presence known. This looks definitely on a level of freaky that I love.
Terrifier 2 has a limited release in movie theaters this October 6th. Next up is October 7th with Amsterdam from David O. Russell, who brought us American Hustle.
This is a murder mystery from the director of Flirting with Disaster, The Fighter, I Heart Huckabees. After knowing each other for a long time, these three characters would do anything for each other. Not only is the story intriguing, but it has a fantastic cast. Look at all these great names. So you know, in the long run, this movie is going to be phenomenal. I am so excited.
This movie brings three people together after a murder for mystery, adventure, and history. This spooky season on Hulu, coming October 7th, is the reimagining of Hellraiser, based on the book The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. This movie is an all-new take on the Hellraiser story. It has Jamie Clayton playing Pinhead.
This October, I'm telling you. Oh, there's the cube. And look, here's Cenobites. Oh, the cube again. October 7th is not coming soon enough. This movie, I am so excited for. Pinhead, look at that. Ooh, dreadful, isn't it? And here comes some chains.
And the voice effects are eerie and haunting. Continuing with Luckiest Girl Alive on Netflix, streaming October 7th, this movie has Mila Kunis and Finn Wittrock, and it basically tells the story of Annie Fellini and how old questions from her past are arisen again, and how it takes her life and totally twists it on its end. Next up is Lyle Lyle Crocodile, premiering in theaters October 7th, which looks to be a musical magical adventure. Paramount Plus is releasing the drama sci-fi thriller Significant Other on October 7th. This movie looks insanely intense, and it follows a couple as they backpack through the Pacific Northwest and what kind of weird things happen to them along the way. And finally today, we have Tar. Tar finds Cate Blanchett starring as Lindsay Tarr, who is a world-renowned composer and musician. This movie looks surreal and artistic, and I am ready for it to blow my mind. Limited release in movie theaters for this one. Okay, that wraps up this week's pre-review. Hope to see you out there.
What's up, fellow cinephiles? My name is Mickey, also known as Cellphone WalletKeys on social media. MrSniDBitS and the crew asked me to bring my Did You Know series from TikTok here to The Real Study. And I couldn't be more excited to expand on those behind-the-scenes facts and little tidbits of information that we may not know and slip under the radar. So this week we have a trio of films with the common denominator being an amazing actor and awesome human being, Sam Neill. So without further ado, let's get started with Did You Know? Did you know that rotational space station scene where they zoom out to show it above Earth took almost a third of the special effects budget to create? Did you also know in that film that the visions of hell and the ship's video log entry were inspired by 16th century Renaissance painters Hieronymus Bosch and Peter Bruegel? Paul W.S. Anderson was fascinated with the idea of hell being the antithesis of heaven and thought that the images were both beautiful and horrifying at the same time, which is exactly what he was looking for in Event Horizon. Did you know Event Horizon's initial runtime was 130 minutes, and when test footage was shown to executives and test audience, it didn't go well. Most were shocked by what they saw, and it was rumored that 1 or 2 people actually fainted. Paramount ordered him to cut the film by 30 minutes and tone down on the violence. Of course, that original director's cut is lost to time now. There have been a few pieces here and there found and collected, but overall, it's a lost cause. Did you also know that from being greenlit to completion, the film only took 10 months to make, which is almost unheard of for a film with such complex and effects-driven visual style? Now, did you know in the film In the Mouth of Madness, the keys that Julie Carmen swallowed to keep Sam Neill from escaping were actually made out of pasta? Did you know that In the Mouth of Madness is actually the 3rd film in John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, the first being The Thing and the second being The Prince of Darkness? Did you know that this was Hayden Christensen's feature film debut? He is the paperboy that Trent meets on the road. Did you know at the end of the film, Sam Neill is actually watching a movie called Robot Monster, which was John Carpenter's favorite film as a boy? Did you know Simon is portrayed by Wilhelm von Homburg, also the main antagonist of Ghostbusters 2? You may know him as Vigo. Homburg was a German-born wrestler, turned boxer, turned actor, and this was his final feature film role. Did you know the people watching this man break a window with an axe are not extras? They were actually onlookers just observing the film shoot. Did you know the Wall of Monsters was actually one large effect on a vehicle-wheeled base that had to be pushed along with a crank? Did you know the Mrs. Pickman creature was filmed as a miniature? There was originally a man in the suit, but John Carpenter did not like the way it looked. Did you know the film Daybreakers is considered an exploitation film, or a Australian exploitation movie? Did you also know Ethan Hawke was the director's first, last, and only choice for the lead role of this film? According to interviews, Sam Neill decided to make the movie because he liked a part of the screenplay where the vampires went to get their morning coffee and it was spiked with human blood.
Just put some more blood in my coffee.
That's it. Did you know the makers of the film held a contest to see who could come up with the best visuals of a world where nearly everyone is a vampire? Did you know the news footage playing in Edward Dalton's car of the vampires rioting over a blood shortage was not a scene that was filmed for the movie? It is actually stock footage of law enforcement putting down a real riot. Did you know that this film supposedly takes place in the year 2019? Whew, boy, I'm glad we missed that one. So those are our films: Event Horizon, In the Mouth of Madness, and Daybreakers. I hope you enjoyed our little journey behind the scenes, and I hope you learned something along the way. So The Real Study is going to work real hard to bring you some great movie content here in Season 2. I'm going to be around doing my thing as the voice of Real Study and these Did You Know segments. I'm going to kick it back to the crew, and hey, now you know.
And we are back. Thank you, Keys, for the kickback over from your really awesome segment. We should be having those segments every week from here on out. And thank you guys. Amazing job across the board there. You guys both kicked
Beautiful.
ass. We appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, right.
Right. Agreed. And we are going to move on to In the Mouth of Madness, the 1994 John Carpenter's film. John Carpenter, of course, did the soundtrack like he does pretty much all the time. Thank you, Joker, for the bits and for showing up. We really appreciate it.
Joker.
Good to see you. It's been a while. And we're going to actually start off this time with Tyler, since he didn't get to say a whole lot over the Daybreakers breakdown. What was your initial thought? Kind of just give us your breakdown of what you thought, and then we'll kind of get everybody's thoughts, and then we'll go to a general discussion.
I mean, I was into it because as soon as it was like, oh, Lovecraft, even though like Lovecraft was the person, I don't really care for it. But all of like the H.P. Lovecraft themed stuff, I was like, okay, cool. Went into it. Ryan, you might know about this, but like the editing, I love it when like the editing plays into, you know, like the themes of it. So like insanity and stuff's just very choppy.
Oh yeah.
Don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the practical effects are insane. I also love that there's a little campiness to it.
Yeah, totally.
Also, Sam Neill punches Styles like multiple. When he punches Styles in this movie, I'm like, whoa, this guy's lost it like completely. That's what he's like, oh, you crazy woman, and he's just like, I'm like, whoa, calm down, Sam.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's crazy. I like it.
All right. How about you, Lala?
What is this? In the Mouth of Darkness?
In the Mouth of Madness.
That's what I've been saying. I always say darkness.
Dark Madness.
I always say darkness. In the Mouth of Madness. Okay, so I knew that this was a film that Smitty liked, like one of his films, and I watched it and I was like, yeah, this. Like each and every time, like I was just like, it was just certain elements in it that I was like, this is why Cindy likes it. Okay, for those of you that don't know, okay, in the Mouth of Madness,
in the mouth of darkness.
All right,
in the thing, in the mouth of darkness.
In the thing of the darkness. In the Mouth of Madness is a film about a investigator played by Sam Neill goes to this small town to look for a very successful author of the horror movie. Then he begins to question whether like, is this real or is this like fiction? Like he can't quite blur the lines, or you know, the lines are being blurred and he can't quite figure out what it is. This was an interesting film. It was super meta. This film was like supremely meta, and I actually dig that about it. Because there was a point where I was like, is he in the story? like I figured it out for a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, like is he in the story? And then like they end up like breaking it down and everything. Because like, I always love stories that start somewhere and then they're like, let me, and then they go to the beginning and shows you how this person got to the part where they're like, let me. So like I 100% like enjoyed that aspect of it, because I don't know, I always like movies that do that, because it's just like, it's interesting to see how they became they are now. It's like, okay, because padlocks, what happened here? There's some steps and I need to see the steps. So they show you the steps, and I thought it was like, it was very interesting. Again, this film, practical effects, like CGI and stuff like that, but it was mainly practical.
Yeah.
I wish they would bring
like
back
94, so it's like,
I wish they would bring back practical effects, because geez Louise.
Visceral is the word I would use.
Like, man, that's a solid word for this film. It was quite visceral. It was quite in your face. Sometimes it made you think whether or not you were seeing, because there were a couple of times where like I was like, I'm looking hard. Why is my vision? Like, I didn't even read the book. I'm like, what's happening? Because okay, for context on that, this author is very successful. If you read books, they've been driving certain people insane. And it seems like I don't know, I just assume they drive like weak-minded people. That's usually how these things.
Yeah, because they mentioned that earlier in the film.
Something.
Yeah.
How about you, Brian?
What did they mention?
Yeah, Tyler, I'm glad you mentioned the campiness, because what's funny is like it's been almost exactly a year since the first time I saw this film. To the day, like it would be like tomorrow would have been the year. Yeah. So it's this crazy timing that I went back and looked at my review on TikTok where I'm like, oh shit. and what's funny was like, I kind of still feel the same way as I did when I first watched it. but I felt myself laughing at it more than I did the first time I watched it. Like definitely appreciated like Sam Neill's just has this attitude. And there's just some funny bits in it that I found myself laughing at more than the first time around. But the first time too was like I didn't see like the crazy turn coming, because for me it felt like okay, there's some crazy stuff, and then it just like turns and there's like this crazy creatures and like all this other like just wild stuff. I mean, like when she gets out of the car, like it's like her head, and then it's like you see
the spider walk scene.
Like
that part was so funny. I laughed so hard. I was like, this did not age well. This practicality. I was like, this did not age. I was like, oh boy,
it does.
But I can understand people back then.
And it does. It feels like a John Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like because it's a lot of that, and like just the music in the beginning. It's just
that rock and roll. That
it's like oh, this is John Carpenter. So it was definitely a good time. And I still feel like there's some slow bits in it though. Like I felt like that before the first time I watched it. And I was just but I do like the whole like Lala said. There's like this meta concept and like like the writer. They're basically like they can't control what they're doing because the writer is writing their lives for them, which is like a crazy.
He sees you,
and he's God. Like it's like so. But it was good to see it again. Like this isn't now again just like Daybreakers. This isn't like it's in the Mouth of Madness season. It just turned out that way. But
All right. So this was definitely my pick. The pick for tonight that was actually from Tyler, since he was brand new host, we let him pick a movie. He actually picked Event Horizon. Based on that pick, I went, Sam Neill, okay. Then I picked In the Mouth of Madness, and then I was like, oh crap, I got to come up with another Sam Neill horror. But I didn't want to do Omen 3 because I'm like, that's the third one, and he plays Damien, and you'd miss the whole story. So
that's funny.
I went with Daybreakers. Apparently, there's another one I should have picked, but that's for another day. But for myself, I did find myself with all of these movies this time around. I was like, man, did I grow up even more? Because they're not what they were for me. Because In the Mouth of Madness, the first time I saw it, I was like, holy crap. But we've had a lot of movies that have kind of done the meta thing. Like meta is like the thing now. So for a movie to be meta in 94 was a huge deal, right? Yeah. And so it definitely blew my mind. And I loved, well, I guess we've already kind of given our pitches. So I'm going to kind of give the reason I brought up this movie was Lala. We were talking about a movie. I don't remember what movie we were talking about, but we did a movie on the show that had a twist ending. And I was like, I got to show you this other movie with this great twist ending, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. And this was that film. And I love the fact that when you get to the end of this movie, spoilers, by the way, that you are one of the viewers of the film that is Sutter Kane's novel In the Mouth of Madness.
Right.
And I love that. That to me, it keeps this movie kind of top tier just because you don't get that very often. And I love the idea that, wait a minute, am I crazy? Kind of like Lala said, her eyes were glossing over a little. And am I also having problems here? Do I read Sutter Kane? I don't know. Yeah. And I really liked that. The movie doesn't hold up as well as it did. Even the guy, the agent, you find out he's the agent. He's like, do you read Sutter Kane? Like it's digitized, it's
like,
weird.
What? I know it felt like a really bad ADR.
Yeah,
it
like, really did.
Whoa, that's not his voice. Like,
so and right in that moment when I saw it this time, I was like, oh wow, that was some bad audio editing and
Sutter Kane.
Right, and the John Carpenter soundtrack. Like I love that he does all his own music, but it didn't work for this film. I don't think as well. I think an eerie soundtrack would have been a little better.
Like the other one,
not like The Thing, which has a great soundtrack.
Escape from New York too, for me. I love Escape from New York.
Yes,
like his music in that's so good. Yeah.
John Carpenter is one of those guys. He either hits like this or The Thing, or he completely misses in my book.
Yeah.
So like Ghosts of Mars or whatever. He really is. Ghosts of Mars is so bad. Anyway, or vampires. I hate vampires. His take on vampires is pretty weak. Daybreakers is better than vampires, but we don't have to go into that. Sam Neill in this again, trying to look back. And we gotta raid. Thank you.
raid.
Thank you guys for the raid. Wow, lots of people coming in. Who rated us? Who rated? Psycho rated us. Thank you so much, Psycho, for coming by. Smash Brothers. Everybody's here. Hello and welcome. Raid. Love it. Lady Crosshard, welcome in, Commander.
Yeah, hey.
But for me, the thing that really stood out to me was Sam Neill's kind of misogynistic, over the top, like getting up in the girl's face, and just being kind of a dick, more than I'm ever really seen him. Even in the other two, even Dr. Weir isn't this gross. He's just not okay.
All of his characters are arrogant.
But in different ways. But in very different ways.
Yeah, but in different ways. But that's a through line for all his characters. All his characters are like, in the business of what they know, are arrogant whenever anybody tries to say anything to them about their business. So him in the Mouth of Madness, I was like, why are you this person? Like he's just like, oh, you guys are good. Guys are good. And then a dude blew his head off and you still kind of didn't believe it. I was like, right, sir. Even if this was a game, it's not a game anymore. The dude put himself in a bar, you growing up, but you're still like.
Well, even when he kept coming back to even when he kept coming back to the same town, no matter how far out of town he drove and came back to the center of town with the same mob, he still wouldn't get it through his own head.
Want an explanation,
right.
Oh, that part too. For some, so that scene where he's like going over and over, he like decides to finally drive through the crowd, right, and run over all these people, and then he sees Styles, and then he's like, "Oh no!" But I'm like, "You just punched her at least 3 to 4 times. Like that now, you know what?"
Yeah, you might as well hit her with a car, like
right.
Like, what are we doing? That part was just so funny. Like, I'd have ran over her with I'd have pumped.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because she changed quickly, but it was because she like that part always messed me up because it was like got back to like the real world or what he thinks. Go back to the story world, I guess, because he was in the world before. So like, I'm assuming Hobbs. The actual place because there were people there trying to that were like, and they still were like, "Oh, it was written or whatever." But like, even when he got back, even when he even when he got back, I was just like, "What are like?" He's really like, I was like, "What are we doing?" And then it was like he was like, "The lady that you talking to, like the publisher, like the lady that you he was like, I didn't. I love Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston, but I was like, he was like, "There's no, I didn't send you out with anybody. What do you mean?" And he was like, "That's right," because he took her out the story. I was like, "Son of a B!" I was like, "What? Like, does he take her out the story?" Because nobody knows. Yeah. It was literally like a writer writing, editing. I love that aspect.
Like, oh, this is a revision, and now she's gone.
Yeah, he revised it. She's gone now. Nobody knows, but I'll make sure you remember. So you crazy. Like, I just think it was a different way of like writing. I feel like the whole aspect of like writing and like I've seen stuff like this now, like see stuff like this now where it's like kind of like I'm the author of this, and I'm like, even Once Upon a Time did something like that where like they had like an author that could rewrite like time and space, all that stuff didn't matter because he could rewrite or add things to the narrative. So it made you think like, am I controlling this or is somebody controlling me? Like it makes you, and that's kind of like what this film did for me. Yeah. I was like, yo, that's crazy because that's the like the juxtaposition of being a person. I always think like, is everything I do predetermined or do I make my own way?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think this movie hit on that in such a way that this film might have been the most enjoyable out of the.
Ooh.
It wasn't still ain't gonna get a good review, but this one might be. still was the most enjoyable just because of the story. Like the Daybreakers story was such a simplistic, like I said, but this one was like it's kind of simple, but it's still chock full of a lot of stuff. And like break it down. It was like the plot was very well done. And some of the people reacted the way I expected people to react. Stuff happened. I might have been mad at it.
Do you like the book? Yeah, I love it. Then this shouldn't surprise you. You know.
Yeah. Right.
And it's funny because he becomes the guy that tried to kill him in the beginning. Like that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the very interesting. It's pretty much it's very full circle. It's pretty much like he put him in that guy's face. Or if you think about it, what if that guy was always Sam Neill? Just saw him as because the guy wrote it can make the person. But maybe it's a whole cycle. Maybe that's always him trying to kill himself so that himself won't go through what he's go through.
I do like that this movie makes you. Well, here's the thing: Daybreakers didn't give me any of this. In the Mouth of Madness, I definitely like. There's enough to kind of sink your teeth into. There's enough to really talk about here. I love the scene where it's him and Sutter Kane and Styles in the church, I guess, or in that that altar room or whatever.
The church,
and he he like bursts the door open and like it's a book page that's been opened. I really like seeing the void is really almost our brain, you know. I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to say what it is, but I do like that you can like see the the text for the book in those splits. I think one of my other favorite scenes is when he's thought he got away, he's on the bus, he falls asleep, and there's a lot of double dreams in this movie, which is interesting.
He like keeps waking,
right? But he falls asleep on the bus.
It's almost comedic,
right?
Like in the beginning, it was like it was like 3 or 4 times that he kept waking up.
Right, a little too much.
Oh man!
But he wakes up on the bus, or he falls asleep on the bus and wakes up, and Sutter Kane is there, and he's like, "Did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue?"
Favorite color.
And then they cut, and they did a really good job with the blue in that scene, and like really making everything look that really great blue. And the way he starts to lose it, Sam Neill, really brings it in that moment.
My favorite is when he's in the movie theater, though.
There's something.
Yeah.
I'm hearing some weird audio from somewhere. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's one of you guys. No, that's my daughter. This is a humming of some kind. I'm not sure what it is, but
I have a fan going on.
It's weird. It didn't pop in until just now.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the sound increase.
It's weird.
One of my favorite parts is when he's asleep in the car and he wakes up, like she goes through this whole supernatural experience of like cross this bridge. It's not a bridge into this town that's not a town. And my favorite part is when he wakes up, he has the most realistic wake up of a person in a car I've ever seen. Because when people wake up, they don't wake up like how they would wake up if they were like knocked out or something like that. People usually wake up like, oh, it's so what? And nobody wakes up like that. Like nobody wakes up very much like, show my face. Like nobody wakes up like that. He literally was like this, and I must have overslept. It was the ugliest wake up I ever seen in my life, and I loved every bit of. I had to rewind it so I could see it again because I was like, I have to wake up like that. Thing. It was just so atrocious. I was like, that's how a person wakes up, man. Nobody wakes up out of the car just like, make it
perfect hair, perfect makeup,
perfect hair. He woke up disgusting. And I loved every bit of it. I loved every bit of it. Drooling, just ready to go. Like, oh, you made it, high five. Like, he was just super happy.
You found it.
This movie does feel like it's missing 20 minutes somewhere.
I'm gonna say like 10.
But it does feels like there's a few moments where they could really kind of do a little bit more exposition and explain a few things. Maybe utilize some of the other actors. I don't know. The psychologist is barely in the film. I don't know.
I was trying to think about it. I was like, what's the Sutter Kane of our time? And I'm about it like R.L. Stein, J.K. Rowling, Stephen King.
I mean, they mentioned Stephen King in the movie too,
right? There's also
bigger than Stephen King.
Oh, who's the other one? There's another big horse. Koontz. Dean Koontz is another one. No, not Robert. I mean, in a way, some way. So what's interesting is Biggie just mentioned that he would love to see a sequel to this film. During the segment, the Did You Know segment from Keys, this is actually technically the third film in a sort of trilogy. The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and this, which is weird because it means they starts with The Thing, which is great, and then it kind of Prince of Darkness is
the plummets in the way,
and then it picks back up with the in the Mouth of Madness, but it does not reach The Thing height again. But which we did review The Thing, Tyler, on the show already, so we won't really be revisiting that. So
Sorry.
Unfortunately, I almost think we should review that every year just to.
I mean, you could.
Never say never.
Right.
I mean, you never know. We might have a rewind episode, and they can pick out of a list of ones we've already done before.
It's fair. I like that.
Because like here's
See how we feel now.
Here's the
Yeah, I
thing.
know, right?
Yeah.
Was anybody shocked?
I'm sorry to announce that this is Tyler's first and last time with
Wow. We've had way worse puns.
We really
before,
have.
so-
I gave 2 terrible vampire puns earlier.
Yeah.
So, was anybody surprised by the end? Was anybody surprised by him going to see the movie and then seeing the actual film that we just watched on screen?
Yes, because I didn't know what was. Because honestly, okay, so like, my whole thing was, I understand that he's in Black War. Nobody really listens to words. But I'm pretty sure what he was saying was actually happening in the world because the guy said it. The guy was like, just because you know details. Okay, but it kind of do though, because I've been locked up in here, and how do I know these things? And so like, when everybody essentially died but him, that made sense to me. I did not expect him to go to the movie, watch his life.
I know.
Because
with popcorn.
With popcorn, right?
With popcorn. Like he
so
pulled
good.
up.
Like concessions are still working, so
He sees. I mean, if everybody died in that moment, some popcorn left over there, man.
You could just hop the counter, grab a little bit.
and the projectionist is still there. Like, yeah.
Look at the post. It has their
Yeah.
But that's their real name.
Right. It says Trent.
I was like,
right.
oh, this is so great. And I was just like,
John
what?
Trent.
Like my brain kind of like blinked, and then when he got in the movie, watched this after when this is a reality, and he just busts out laughing. I was like, oh, he's gone. He's
like,
gone,
oh, I
you
was so
guys.
crazy back then.
Yeah. I don't know what a sequel.
I know.
Would that be him trying to get out of this story world, or I don't know what would. How would you? He's a god.
Someone trying to find John Trent, maybe, and like having to like enter this story world and try to rescue him somehow. I don't know.
Maybe it'd be like the story of the editor trying to do a rewrite on Sutter Kane's novel.
Oh.
And maybe the
But Sutter Kane was writing the part of the editor the entire time.
Oh, that's a good point. Damn
That's
it.
true.
Yeah.
So
see,
I have a
like
solution.
Sutter
There's
Kane,
really only one solution, and that is Deadpool. He would have to go out and kill Sutter Kane and then rewrite the story, honestly.
Rewrite himself.
Yeah, that's the only option I see.
Deadpool's the way into everything.
Did they die or did they?
I think they went crazy and killed
feel
each
like-
other, is what I thought they did.
They either went crazy and killed each other, or he just wrote them out of existence. Just wrote them out of existence. Like he's God, right? Or in essentially this version of God, so he can write you in and out of existence how he chooses.
T-shirt.
That's why she said she couldn't go with him, because she was like, I read the end of the book, not there.
Yeah.
That's almost worse.
Yeah. Could you read your life? Could you read your life's book?
Oh. Well, like,
if it was accurate,
there's
no,
also
I
this-
wouldn't want to read
There's
that.
also this thing of like, would it alter how you proceeded too? You know what I mean? Like, would you make different choices if you're reading ahead of your own life?
I think this movie is a prequel to Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell.
There you go. Yeah.
I was actually
I
going
love
to
that
say
movie,
that
yeah.
if you guys have ever seen the movie Quiet Earth, that would be a great sequel to this, because it's about 3 people that are left on Earth. And since there was really nobody left in the end of the film, it kind of makes sense. So I don't know. That's a weird film.
There was, because he was walking down the street going to the theater. If you look behind him, there was somebody like moving trash or something there. So I think there's a few people on Earth. I don't think there's a whole bunch on Earth. I think there's a few people on Earth.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you don't read or watch movies, you wouldn't be affected. You'd just be a murder victim, basically.
Right.
Well,
Also,
this is
that theater scene reminded me of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was wondering, maybe the Daniels film. Yeah, we did a nod. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure we did.
I like that. Everything Everywhere All at Once is the alternate universe to In the Mouth of Madness. So where's Michelle
They
Yeoh
wrote
in this
the
film?
sequel,
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
they did.
There you go.
Maybe she's not in this Earth. The Earth.
Well, they aren't in every Earth in that movie. Anyway, we don't need to go into that film. So
let's rate this one.
I like it. You go first. You brought it up. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's rate this one. He just yelled at us, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, rate it. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna give this one. I just want a 7. Also, yeah. It was like I laughed more this time, so that I like it more. But yeah, there's still some of those slow bits. I appreciate the practical creature effects. Are really great, and yeah, I don't know that. Like again, like this is one of those where like the first time I watched it, it was because it was on my list to watch it. I've never like sought this movie out, and again, I've watched, and I didn't think I was ever going to watch it again until I was forced to for this. So, but
I want to say sorry,
like,
but I don't at the same time.
No, right? Yeah. No, there's plenty of movies that Lala has to watch. That I probably pick.
That's fired. No,
you know. No, I mean like saying like I force you to watch a movie that you're like,
yeah,
we're still friends, Brian, but
but no,
I don't know
thank
about this
you.
movie. No, but it's still a decent film, and it's John Carpenter, and there's still plenty to enjoy this movie. 7.
All right.
12-year-old me probably wouldn't have watched it. So
fair. Tyler.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 because I just love like I also watch like the Japanese House. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie. But that movie is like I'm just all about camp or campy. If I'm laughing during a horror movie, that's like almost a 10. But I watched it as a 12-year-old kid. I wouldn't go out to go see it, but my dad would probably have made me watch it. Like
funny.
Every other horror movie that he made me watch.
Okay.
All right, Lala.
I'm a mimic Brian. I'm gonna give it a 7 because for me the plot was better than Daybreakers, and it was something that I could really get into. It was so much happening at all times that I could like dissect this a little bit better. It was a little if this was an onion, it had layers. Okay. Shrek reference.
I was gonna say, is this an ogre?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 7. I honestly watch it again. But if I'm somewhere, like I usually say, if I'm somewhere, somebody's like, yeah, I just saw this weird movie on Pluto. You want to watch it? And I'm just like, sure. That's probably where it would be eventually. Styles was unnecessary. I just want to. But I don't think her character was needed in the film.
Right.
You can remove her and nothing changes. Just wouldn't punch nobody in the face and put them in the car. So
am I the only one that felt the tension between them, the sexual tension, but there was just nothing ever came from it?
I felt a flirtation.
Okay.
It was like that moment at the elevator,
yeah,
in the beginning, but that was really about it.
Or the bag of chips.
I liked it in the car when he like scared her awake. I was like, that's cute, like messing with her in a way. And then, like Biggie said, it was like heavy flirtation. But after that, she got sucked in quite quickly.
Well, she became a monster like right then.
Like immediately. I will say this though, this movie and Event Horizon both show people their future in flashes, and I thought that was interesting because he saw what was going to happen, just didn't know where it was going to happen. The same thing happened in Event Horizon. But yeah, I gave it a 7. My 12-year-old self probably will watch this. I used to watch movies like this late at night when I was a kid and then having to. And 12-year-old me, because of the weirdness and the prosthetics and the blood, I probably would have loved this as a kid. So I probably would have gave this like an 8 or a 9 as a kid.
All right. That's fair.
What about you, Snitty?
So this was a 10 when I saw it when I was 17, because I saw it in theaters when it came out. And of course, I'm sitting in the theater and watching him in the theater going, oh, shit, this is not cool.
That must have been crazy.
It was a very interesting and surreal feeling. And then I've seen it dozens of times because it's just been one of those movies that I've just kind of unpacked over time. But I'm losing me. Yeah, that was a little. Those lines are a little bad. I'm losing me, Trent. I'm losing me. Anyway. But now that I'm watching it and it's 20 years old or 30,
her, so
30 years old at this point. It's a 30-year-old film.
It's,
It's no longer a 10. I'm going to give it an 8. I do think it's still worthy. I think it's one that everybody should, well, I won't deny there's nostalgic goggles there, but I think it's something that everybody should see because it does have that meta approach. It does have the cool twist ending. Sam Neill does a good job. The creature effects are good. I think there's far more pros on the list than cons. And the fact that it's a little campy can be fun. By the way, the effects done for this movie are the same team that did the Evil Dead 2 effects, so that could be where some of that camp comes from. So it's Greg Nicotero and crew doing the effects.
Greg Nicotero, and that's only because he was one of the judges on Face Off.
Nice.
That's where I learned all about Greg Nicotero.
But he's a talented effects designer, like one of the most talented. So. Interesting question from Nerd Initiative. Did anybody think that Jane Foster explaining the Bifrost and Love and Thunder immediately thought of this movie? No.
No. I went the opposite way. I went the opposite way when I was watching Explain. Was it this movie or no? That was Event Horizon. That was Event Horizon where he like 2 points and he was put it through the poster.
Yeah, that's I would have. Yeah, I definitely thought of that.
And that's like multiple movies have used that.
I immediately was like, "We're loving them." Like that's I immediately.
I would imagine. The first time I ever saw it was in Event Horizon. So.
Yeah, exactly. And like other multiple sci-fi films have used that same theory.
Christopher Nolan made it look like he did it first.
Exactly. No, totally.
He does that. He does do that. 12-year-old me would have seen it because I did see it when I was 17. That's close. We're going to just push the mark a little bit. But let's go ahead and move right on into Event Horizon. So this is a Paul W.S. Anderson film. And now that I've watched it at this age, seeing not all his other films, but a lot of his films, I remember, oh yeah, this is a Paul W.S. Anderson film. You can tell. And it is a 1997 film starring Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill are the two main actors, and a nice smattering of other pretty great actors. I would say. Why don't we start with? I know that we started with Tyler last time, so why don't we start with Lost since both Brian and Tyler got to start? What was your thoughts on Event Horizon?
First time seeing Event Horizon. Yeah, like it's my very first. Oh, you might not say that one. For anybody that doesn't know what Event Horizon is, Event Horizon takes place in 2047. It follows a that's on a rescue mission to find Event Horizon, who the ship has disappeared for 7 years. It's very Trekky, very like this ship went through a wormhole, it disappeared, and then it came back, and now everybody's wondering what happened on the ship, and that's essentially what this film. My first time seeing it, I blinked real hard when it started. I was like, "What?" And then as it got to it, Sam Neill is all these films just shows that he plays a dick very well. Plays dick very well. He was quite annoying. He was very much of a know-it-all, but I assume it was because he's been on the ship on the ship. That's a whole different. That's my theory for it because he's super connected to it, like a. It was very symbiotic, like a. I created you, so I have this connection to you that nobody else has, type of thing. Shout out to Jolie Richardson though. I was like, look at her. I'm kind of mad that God, what's his name? Richard T. Jones. I'm kind of mad that he isn't like listed as somebody else more because he survives. Okay, I need him in the line with everybody else. He survives. So like the fact that his name out of everybody else's name, but I get it, he wasn't in it as much. Like he just survived by proxy because he just wasn't around.
But Cooper is the great character in this movie, I think. I love Cooper.
He's amazing. He's the reason I chuckled, I laughed. Lawrence Fishburne got me one good laugh. And my favorite scene is when he's like, yo, man, we about to blow this up and we about to get on our ship. We about to dip. Sam Neill's character is like, no. And then Lawrence Fishburne's character is just like, no. What we're going to do is we're going to set these charges. Fuck this shit. He's like,
fuck this shit.
I loved it.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, I was like, hell yeah, Lawrence.
I was like,
fuck this shit. Fuck it.
Dang. I was like, that's the realest thing. And honestly, I mean, I don't bring race to everything, but I did a black man. I was like, yes, sir. I'm feeling on that because that's our people. We be like, fuck, I'm not about to.
Oh yeah.
But we about to blow this up and like to me that was a realistic reaction to a phenomenon that he can't explain what's happening. And it's like Lawrence Fishburne to me was tops in this.
He was
top.
Oh yeah. Well, he was grounded in reality. Like he knew that wasn't right.
Tops. He just because it was just like I like when they have like captains that like captains are always portrayed in a certain way, like captain, hey, my crew comes first and I come last and stuff like that. And he's like he paid the ultimate price for being the captain.
Spoiler.
Oh, yeah, that feeds into his history. So he kind of has to be that way.
Right.
Exactly. That I didn't expect any other way. But like captains have this thing about them, but he was also like a captain that could be like, yo, listen, might sound crazy, but I believe him. I've been with him this entire time. Like he was able to separate the fact that okay, you might not agree with what he saw, but he saw something. Yeah. So let's get that information.
Like, I believe he saw something. Like
right.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
You know, how crazy it is. I don't know what it is. Believe him.
But I believe him. You know, whatever. And I look because you don't see that a lot. You always see like captains like shut it down, put him in the fridge.
You lock it up.
You know, it's like it's for him to be like, yo, these are my people. They won't act like this because of nothing. Let's listen. Yeah. And then we can move forward. And then after a while, everybody started dying. You can like the scene. Jason Isaacs' character,
DJ,
their scene when they're like sitting in front of each other and they're like talking, I almost cried. Like I almost cried because it was like the octane of it all kind of calmed down a little bit. We were able to like kind of refocus and get regrounded. Then it was like the look in Lawrence's eyes, like he welled up, like he was about to cry, and so did Jason Isaacs' character. And I was just like, it's just such a good scene. Movie overall, you know.
100, right? Like
out of 1,000. No, I'm kidding.
Oh man. I'm about to highly disagree with everybody here.
Movie overall was okay. I know that this was not like my bag. This was not my bag of a movie. I enjoyed the natural aspect of it. I did more so enjoy the characters than I did any of them. The characters, the build up for the characters, like these movies are written in like 80s, 90s type of things. Like they don't give you a lot of setup. They just throw you into the stuff and be like, enjoy the ride, I guess. It's like they just kind of like.
I'm willing to bet though, because this movie was cut down by almost a half an hour, that there was a lot. You can feel moments where they would have gone into each person's hell, and they don't. I feel like we would have gotten Stark's hell. We would have gotten, Cooper's hell. We never even see anything negative for Cooper.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't see anything negative. Like I said, he survived by proxy. Wild things would happen to him. How he will course correct, fix it.
Why this got to happen to me? He says as he's floating into deep space.
As he's floating into deep space, and like
space,
I mean, like I don't know. I enjoyed everything about this again. Practical effects were great. And when Sam Neill goes there, he actually goes there, and it's like. And if you really look at the trajectory of these movies, you saw him when he was like really middle age. Like you could see his face change.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, somebody else go. We can talk about it all day.
Let's go to Brian. You had some positive things you want to say.
Oh man, I love this movie. This movie is like, this is the third time I've watched it. And the first 2 times was when I was like 18. So I haven't seen this movie in that long. I've like talked about it on TikTok, and it got like a lot of attention, and just like how much this movie has like affected people over the years is like incredible. First off, and like I know I was like, we talk about the runtime, right? that for me, this was like an efficient edit. Even with the like all that missing footage, which they had to pull out because it was going to be NC-17 or rated X. Even they had to get rid of that footage, and like, and they still had like for me, it was like it worked. I don't really know if like it would even be the same movie with all that like extra grotesque orgy stuff that we see in the ship's log and everything. But
I mean, but you barely
for me,
see
like,
it, though.
what's
you
that?
see enough. You see it.
No, yeah, like that's all you need.
I actually, but I actually enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed it. You just, it was like you got like glimpses, and you were like, yeah.
I felt that like that added more to the horror.
It added to the hell aspect for me too.
Yeah,
like I feel like that's just, I don't know. I ain't been to hell. I ain't trying to go, but I just feel like you gonna be doing some really weird stuff, and then killing each other.
And like for me, there's like so much to appreciate in this, but like the production design is freaking insane. I mean, like it just reminds me of Alien. It reminds me of just like the claustrophobic nature of that ship. I mean, just it had so much texture to it, and like some of it seemed like unnecessary. Like some of the doors like that would open had like these spikes on the end of the door. I'm like, what? Why would you have those spikes there? But I guess, like,
no, I literally thought that same thing, bro. I was like, I was watching this, and I was like,
but it does add something to it, right?
I was like, this happened.
Oh,
no, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, the production design was great. I mean, for me, they did a really great job of building things up. Like we got a little, like just like it was like a perfect little breadcrumb trail leading up to everything and building this anxiety. Like I still felt this anxiety, even though I was watching it. It was like daytime when I was watching it too in my home. It didn't mess me up as much as like the first 2 times I saw it. It like stuck with me and maybe not want to watch it, forever. And I was like, but it had such a lasting effect on me. And this time I was able to appreciate it on a different level. And just like probably because like I've, from a filmmaking perspective, I've been able to like see things differently and look at things differently and experience things. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne is like so good in this. The effects still, I don't know, the whole thing just still holds up for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I love it more now than I did. Like I still liked it back then, but it was like, it's one of those things that just like messed with me. It was like a horror film that really like The Exorcist still like fits with me, and I kept thinking about like that game Dead Space, which a lot of this film was inspired by. And that game messed me up. My God, I cannot play the game. It's so
those creatures are pretty freaky
in the game. Yeah, it's like, and like the Cellphone WalletKeys mentioned the door sound. That was the first thing I like heard was the Doom door sound. I was like, that's awesome.
Right?
I don't know. And it's not even like a nostalgia thing for me. It was just like, things worked for me in this movie. And for me, out of the three, this is my favorite.
All right, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm with Brian too. Like this is like exactly what you were saying about like how this is like Alien. This is what I recommend to people if you want Alien on fast forward. Like
I like that. Yeah.
It does do this one thing though, like several things. I don't know if it's like the mid 90s to early 2000s, but like the guitar like riffing in the beginning with the intro. Like it's kind of unnecessary.
There's a very 90s feel. I feel like that's probably Wes Anderson's like
signature
like tastes, like he like, and then like playing Prodigy during the credits.
That works though.
I'm like, well, that's so I mean, it's such a. I mean, 97 Prodigy was like everyone was listening to Prodigy in 97. So yeah. Anyway, Tyler, go ahead.
There's also like the other thing about like mid 90s. Like the CGI thing, we're like, ooh, we got effects. Like, like they had like the liquid floating. They had to do like the liquid, and they go in front of the camera real close. They're like, he's guy. We're progressing in 97. Like, here we are.
Part of me was like, was this film like made in because the way they were moving stuff? I was like, it's like you wanted people to be like, like you wanted people to be like that. But on your point about like CGI stuff like that, the scene where Lawrence Fishburne's character sees like his ear like fire on fire, and then he gets blown back, and then like he's on fire, but like his face is his face is like CGI, like with like a layover of like Lawrence face being like.
Well, there was the stunt double, and then a moment later, you see Lawrence Fishburne with just a little burning on his arm. Like,
yeah, like
no, but that wasn't a stunt double. They like CGI'd his face to make it. I mean, it was a stunt double, but they CGI'd his face to make it look like Lawrence was like very, very bad. And I was like, and then you see the water like, oh, like, I was just like, that's bad, you guys. It's fine. 97.
I was just disturbed, so I probably did.
In the year that it came out. So for me, this movie was exceptionally disturbing for a long time, but I think I've seen it enough times now that when I watched it, you know, seeing her eyes used to freak me out, but now they're so bad CGI, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it doesn't hit as hard as it would. I think this movie is prime for a remake. If they can do it right, this could be done well, or they'll totally screw it up. But the concept and the eeriness, I know that Paul W.S. Anderson, I just want to say Paul Anderson, but that's a whole nother person.
Well, that's how he's credited in the film. It's just Paul Anderson.
Right, but that was before Paul Thomas came like really charging onto the scene. So, but he definitely, there's a lot of Hellraiser in this movie. The concept of the gateway is built kind of like the box, and then even the scene where DJ is strung, not DJ, the other, no, it is DJ, is strung up. He's hung from the top, very much like Hellraiser. And
that still got me. I was just like,
some of that stuff was visceral and really kind of gut wrenching, but it didn't hit me as hard this time. But again, I've seen the movie too many times. I think it just, not only that, I'm
super desensitized to a lot to stuff. Like, I'm just, I watched it and was like, dang, he didn't do all that. I was like, you already killed him. What was, I was saying that.
Well, and that's where it felt like the runtime was a problem. How did, the ship isn't that big, and it didn't take Lawrence Fishburne very long to get from the hatch, was just halfway through the ship.
I would disagree, because they show the scale of the ship against their own ship, though.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Is massive.
That's a good point.
No, that ship is huge. That's one of the parts when they were like, where is it? They're like, 1,000 kilometers. 500.
Yeah, and then boom.
And then boom, it's like this big thing. And then when they showed it from like the side, I was like, what was the point of all of this ship? Like, I was like,
it's so massive.
It is.
It's so massive. It's like it was such.
But to cut somebody open like that, turn them over, hang them by hooks, I don't know. That seems like a lengthy process. I don't really know how long that would take. Never been involved, but.
Is that an image? Because like I immediately, I was like, that's why Midsummer messed me up. Like there's a scene in Midsummer that has
the hanging
imagery.
girl who's alive.
Even then, I was like, watch these. Like a lot of energy. I'm never like took up by any of these. Sucks because like, having that like adrenaline rush kind of like adds to the horror effect or the horror effect. And the fact that I lose that now because I can like pick out what's going to happen in, which is why I like Hereditary. But this movie was still. Sam Neill was just him and Lawrence Fishburne. I was like, I didn't expect. I really didn't think that kind of hurt my feelings, but he went out like a G. He went out.
He's a hero. He saved the last two people. Maybe.
That was the thing too. Yeah, exactly. Like he did everything he could. To not lose people. You know what I mean?
His crew,
that was the thing too. Like he wasn't just like one of those protagonists that was like. He was making decisions. He was like doing things. He was active. You know, he wasn't like a passive character. He was like, he wasn't just delegating things. He was like.
I feel bad for him too because everybody called him. He need 2 seconds. It was like Miller.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's like, damn it, I'm trying to do stuff.
Like he couldn't even get like a time to just sit and talk until somebody calls him.
I know.
Him as a captain, because that was brought up, and I really like this idea. The fact that he was so for his crew, even when DJ put the scalpel to his teammate's throat, as soon as that altercation was over, he walked up to DJ and was like, "Are you good? Like, are you okay, man? Like, this isn't like you to be putting a knife to people's throats." And that was not something you'd normally see. Normally, he would have been like, "Put him in the brig." Or whatever.
Exactly.
But he didn't. He cared about each one of these people.
Even when what's the guy's name? Really wanted
the pilot.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, the pilot, like the one
When
that
he
was
was
like
like
at the helm.
really trying to get on
Smith.
Sam Neill's character, like
Yeah,
yeah,
he was. Oh, Smitty. Yeah, he kept calling him Smitty.
yeah.
So like his character, kept getting on, like he was trying to like kind of deck weird. Got tired of him,
Oh,
like
yeah.
hit him or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that scene. Even then, you didn't listen to me, but then he pulled him back, dropped him on the table, and was like, "Yo, you need to calm down." Like the way that Lawrence Fishburne said it,
Yeah.
like his gravitas,
He
the way
like
he said it, I was
redressed
like,
him. And yeah.
"Sir, you need to stop." I was like, "You need to stop because he's mad." And like,
Right.
and it was just like, it was just like so much command, and you the respect that not only that these characters have, but I think the actors also have, because like sometimes you just like,
For sure.
like as an actor, when you're on stage with another person that's commanding, it's like you tighten up, button up, and you're like, oh yeah. Like I'm in the scene with this person, like, oh, I gotta. And I feel like Lawrence Fishburne had like everybody on their
There's
A
like
game.
some of that.
So on that, I would say that this role is definitely what made them take note and say this guy could play Morpheus, because there was definitely like he was leading that command lead, and just like, you know, he was
in the chair that swivels. I was like, is this not the Matrix? Like, he was in the chair
I mean, it was only 2 years later, so
dude,
Yeah, I was
no, I
like,
mean the
what's
ships.
happening?
The ships feel reminiscent
ship,
of,
like,
you know, the ships in the Matrix.
I was waiting for him to pull on some shades in the middle of the movie. Like,
Oh my
guys.
well, he had way too much hair in this movie. Like, I didn't like how much hair he had. But
I do want to say though, like, I think why like the Captain's character like works so well too is in contrast to Sam Neill's, like what I would like to call Sam Neill canonically is the Gaslight King. Like,
oh yeah, no, totally. Like, especially in this movie, the whole time he's it's like, oh, let me come up with this like fake scientific explanation for why this is. It could be a gravitational, you know, pulse that, you know, goes up your ass and like things. Like, yeah,
I'm a scientist, so you know, I was like,
yeah, science.
I did like that Miller did eventually just go, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm
like,
done with you, dude.
F you, F this ship.
Yeah,
I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm leaving, man. That's
Well,
man. That's a crime.
I think it's like Sam Neill, he'll like, or his character. I'm just gonna call him Sam Neill in every movie, but like,
yeah,
he has this thing where he also sees some crazy stuff, and then as soon as someone's like, "Hey, I saw some crazy stuff too,"
yeah, I'm like, tell them what you saw, man.
No,
Like,
but that's to Law's point where he's symbiotic with this ship. I agree. I feel like he already had that. Like
it slowly starts taking over him, you know, because it knows, like, because he built the damn.
Right.
Also, it's like,
did you hear about that theory about? I heard that like Sam Neill from the was sent back to basically go with this crew. Like, he's already like a part of that ship, but like Event Horizon sent Sam Neill to get like involve this crew and like, hey, come back, we gotta go and see this ship. Like, he was already like part of it from the very beginning.
Like, I guess that would be. I guess that would explain why he was seeing visions. He was like the first one to see things.
Yeah.
You know.
That's like Alien though, right? And so like Alien with that one character who like sent back to like watch the like that, or like
Paul Reiser.
Yeah, Paul, like his
I think
character.
that was like Aliens, but yeah.
Yeah. Like one of those movies where he was like a Trojan horse on his own thing.
Right. Yeah. There's also the 40 like was the 40K
Warhammer 40K connection.
Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, this is prequel to Warhammer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so
you should look into that. There's a long deep dive. Not enough time on the show. There is since it is about a ship that literally goes to hell, because that's what, you know, they say another dimension, they say another universe, blah 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 blah. But quite literally, they quite say it's hell. But even then, you see the Weir character, you know, once he's gouged his own eyes out and he's sitting on the ship's at the ship's captain's chair. They've got the cross, you know, with the windows behind him, and the motif is very like boom, you know, right in your face. And I expected maybe a little more than that, but it's definitely there. There's definitely like, he was the Antichrist in some ways.
No, there's a lot of and there's a lot of Dante's Inferno was inspiration for some of this, and there's all kinds of. I mean, even like the ship itself was inspired from like Notre Dame,
right,
the cathedral, and so they built Event Horizon to like from elements of that cathedral.
Well, if you look at it from the top down, it's a giant cross.
Yeah, but like even like the towers from Notre Dame, they like turn those on their side and basically put those as like the thrusters or whatever on the back of the ship kind of thing, and like
that.
so like
This
literally
could
they took
literally-
elements from it and put
This
it
could literally
into
be
the
his
ship.
character from In the Madness. This could literally be his character because there was crosses all in it. So remember he was like putting crosses all in there.
Right, I know.
And
What's
they
funny
were,
is
like,
I watched
upside down and stuff like
this
that.
first and then In the Mouth of Madness, and like yeah, that I was paying attention to those crosses too. There's like a lot
Yeah, I
of
was
religious
like,
symbolism.
this is quite
I was like, whoa,
there's a
yeah, it's
connection here. I was
really
like,
weird,
all right.
interesting seeing these back to back to back.
So I want to
Yeah.
talk about the Paul W.S. Anderson of it all. And he has a very particular style in his filmmaking. And it's very stylized. And even this movie, it lends itself to this film. But he has this shot,
Right.
and every director has a shot that they love to include in everything. But his shot is the close-up on the eye. I swear he
Yeah,
does it in
he
every
does that multiple
movie.
times.
And when I watched this, I was like, oh, this is Paul W.S. Anderson. He did the same shot he did in all the Resident Evil movies in this movie. And I hate to say it, like this is his magnum opus. Even though people might say Mortal Kombat, I don't agree with that. I think this is the better film. But
Oh my god. Yes.
but this
Oh.
is his good film, and
Yeah.
I try to look through his list, and this was it, and this is why I kind of want the director's cut. It's not possible, but I would love to
Yeah.
see what he could
Blame
have
Paramount.
done.
Blame Paramount for that.
Oh, I do. I blame them for a lot of things.
I mean, essentially, supposedly, like that footage is destroyed.
Right.
Like it's
No.
Yeah.
lost.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
me too.
we're talking about the guy that did all of the Resident Evil movies, Monster Hunter. Okay, anything with Mila Jovovich after 2000.
Yeah.
Because they're
Well, didn't
married and
they-
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
they're
gonna say
married.
They got married. Yeah.
Monster Hunter, Pompeii, which didn't do very well. The Three Musketeers, the
Oh,
like
Pompeii.
stylized action movie.
Yeah.
He did Alien versus Predator, which is kind of panned as one of the worst of all the Alien and Predator movies, other than Requiem, which is kind of
Right.
generally hated.
Listen,
He
I
did
prefer
Soldier.
Mortal Kombat over this.
So like that's what I mean. Like
Oh,
he
man.
did a lot of
Kombat
fives
is
and
my
sixes.
childhood.
So no,
Mortal
and
Kombat is my childhood, you know what I
nostalgia
mean? So
glasses aside.
I prefer Mortal Kombat over Event Horizon.
Yeah, like I loved Mortal Kombat, but for me, I don't know. This
There ain't no
feels-
butts, Bri.
Yeah, I got a big old butt. Right here.
No,
A lot of bubble butt. That's fine.
we are getting into some weird territory here with Event Horizon. But just as a director, I feel like he never got past just doing this style of film.
Yeah.
And it's the actors and the horror of it all that made this film better. Otherwise, I
Yeah,
think
no,
anybody else could have
Yeah.
directed this
100%.
film, is what I mean. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely not like the direction is not like what stands out with this. It's the actors, it's the production design, it's the edit.
I was going to
even,
say the
'cause they
edit.
really had to like edit this thing,
So the
even though they
editor
had limited footage.
of this is the same editor that did Full Metal Jacket and Chronicles of Riddick
well, there
and
you go.
California and a few other well-edited films. So I think that the editing was definitely on par in this film. So yeah, that was my piece.
Speaking of iconic shots, there's one more. It's that wide where like you start upside down, you turn, and the character's in the window, and you just keep zooming out, or you zoom really in.
Yep.
All right, W.S. Wes Anderson, whatever.
He's the
Whatever
Wes
your
Anderson
name
of action. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Whatever your name is, sir. Nobody cares anymore.
I did appreciate too, like some of it, like it's sci-fi, but also like it's like steeped in, like it's grounded for me
No,
in
it's
a lot of
very
ways.
grounded.
Like
Very
the
grounded, I
space
agree.
station, for example, that's like not too far from the kind of space station we would have. Like just like it was not like too crazy out there. It was like this. Like,
Other than the gravity of it all.
well,
Wow.
yeah, but
I'm just saying everything had gravity in this movie, and I was just like, I didn't mean
Yeah,
gravity
I
of
mean,
the movie. I meant everybody. There's artificial gravity in everything in this movie, and they don't even discuss it or bring it up.
Yeah.
And just but I'm with you. It does look like the
But-
ISS.
yeah, it's not like these. I mean, it's not like super out there. Like
Yeah.
none of the ships.
But
like,
I feel like it's
are
a
like
grounded
super
story in the
pretty.
sense that
Right.
I can see this a thing because like if you really think about the grand scheme of like the universe, we don't know what's out there. Like they have
Oh,
sent
yeah.
things out there that have disappeared or they can't find it or anything like that. So this film is not out of the realm of possibility of somebody sending a ship to something. They open up a gateway to something they don't know,
Yeah, they don't
regardless if it
understand, like,
folds space,
yeah.
whatever.
Or
Humans
the
are
laws
always
of
doing
physics
stuff
aren't the same, even though that kind of
they-
breaks the laws of physics.
that
But
they
you know,
don't understand. And then
Well,
possibly
they mentioned that in the
bringing
film
back
too. It was like,
something
Yeah, they
foreign. I
do.
feel like this is a simple premise. Like, got a ship, you sent it somewhere, it came back with like a virus of something,
Mhm.
or came
Right.
back with something, or like something attached, some type of sentient being, or maybe a devil, whatever is now attached.
So what they
to
needed
the
to bring was a
tribe.
young priest and an old priest. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
exactly.
You know what?
They could have
Everybody
exercised.
I mean,
The
it
Event
was
Horizon.
essentially a possessed
Everybody
ship.
break.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. I'm not liking Snake.
I'm just saying, had they brought a preacher instead of a scientist, maybe things would have gone
I'm just
differently.
saying, I don't like you.
Oh, that's sad. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well.
Ah.
But it was grounded though, Brian. I just want to very grounded. Like, not only like plot wise to me, but like character wise, every character is pretty much like very level headed and grounded.
Yeah.
And when they're like freaking out, they're like, no, but you're not getting it. It's
Yeah.
real. like understanding.
Well, that was the thing
like-
too. I appreciate was like the crew with like Lawrence Fishburne's crew.
Mhm.
They really seemed to like really be
Like a crew.
yeah, like they were a unit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they really
Mhm.
kind of had that respect for each other.
The Mama
And they
Bear
cared
stuff
about each
really
other.
kind of helped
yeah,
with
the
that.
Mama Bear.
Listen,
and the
Mama
Baby
Bear and Baby Bear. Listen here,
Ugh.
I was devastated.
That
Oh my
scene
God.
sucked. I was like,
Yeah, man. I know.
Oh my god!
And he
That's one that
lived.
sticks with me.
Oh,
No,
man, yeah.
but I thought something was gonna happen because like, okay, it was like he was possessed, obviously, like, to enter.
Yeah, because he like went
Then
there.
when the door went out and that alarm went on, it was very like enemy got washed away, and then Mama Bear, don't let me die. It was very
Yeah.
like very
his
much
veins
like,
coming out like,
his
oh,
veins
ooh.
but I was like, okay, maybe it's sound, maybe they can kill it with sound or something like that. But they just dropped that whole thing. Like, no, that's not what this is. I was like,
that was the moment I was like, screw this shit, man. Screw
Oh,
this
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like-
he's messing around.
Yeah, with
poor little
Mama-
baby
with
bear,
Baby
man.
Bear.
But it was just that save was crazy.
Yeah, I love that whole thing.
The fact that they
That,
saved him.
that they did a good job building that up too. Like Lawrence Fishburne's like trying to like because again he's trying to do everything he can
Right.
to not
to
lose
save his
another
crew,
yeah,
to
Right.
make sure his crew
member,
makes
yeah.
it out.
So I wanted.
But that ending though, Snitty, that ending.
She dreamed the double dream,
She, like,
not the double dream, but
dreamed,
the dream.
like
Yeah.
the double, like the dream within a dream. I was just like, yo,
Right.
I freaked out with her though. Like he did a really good job. Like I freaked out with her, like because I can't even imagine how like SD or traumatized you.
Totally.
So there's a moment where Lawrence Fishburne tells Baby Bear to blow all the air out of his lungs and close his eyes. And I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but that's the most accurate thing you could try to do in that scenario. I think
Yeah,
he
it's
still
only-
would have
yeah,
absolutely
it's
died
only-
in real life, but
Totally.
but the blowing out of your lungs, the air in your lungs would try to expand in real space. This is done.
Exactly.
I've
Yeah.
heard this from a physicist, and it would just rip you to shreds. So the fact that he wanted him to just get as much out as possible,
Make yourself compact. And
right?
yeah.
It was neat. It's fairly weirdly
Yeah.
accurate. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I messed with it. I was like, I believe it. Lawrence Fishburne told me to do something. I believe it.
right,
Whatever you want me to do, sir.
Exactly.
right. Well, okay. So we've got about just a couple minutes left here. We can go ahead and rate this film, and then we can talk about next week. And Tyler, it has been awesome having you. I think you've been a great addition,
Yeah,
and I
buddy.
do see that
Tyler.
being more and more as we go. And don't hesitate to suggest films as we go, because
Yeah.
that's part of what we all get to do. We of course want to
Just
hear
know,
from
Tyler, I
our
haven't
students, but
anything.
you what?
I haven't seen anything, Tyler.
Well, and so here's the thing. So Law has been the youngest person on the panel since the beginning, but that's no longer the case. Now Tyler is the young one. And so
Baby bear.
the baby bear. Oh,
Also,
we're going to get that name.
We used to be very, very beard heavy.
That's true.
Oh,
We had more beard representation before, but that's
Yeah.
fine. We could,
I cleaned mine off. I didn't think I
So today I noticed there's 2 of us with headsets, 2 with glasses, 2 with hats, 2 with beards. It's very interesting. Like,
oh.
yeah, it's very
I
little
heard
different.
for a second.
symbiotic, guys. We're
Right.
symbiotic.
When it's like mixed and
Already.
matched, it's pretty great.
First
um,
episode of season 2, we're symbiotic.
Right. La, let's hear your rating.
Oh, rating. I'll do this real quick because I know people have children. Gotta go. Event Horizon. I'll give this a solid 7.5. It's not something that I'm gonna watch again. But I enjoyed the ride that I was. 12-year-old me, it was space. 12-year-old me kind of liked space, but not to this. And like, But if it was on late at night, she probably would have watched it. Probably would have gave it like a 7 or 8. Something.
All right.
It had scary elements. An explosion. Like.
All right, Tyler.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Ooh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, he says. No, this is your scale, your opinion.
But yeah, it's an awesome sci-fi. I would recommend it for anyone that has the stomach to if you're looking for just that extra bit of sci-fi scary 12-year-old me. No, again, but my dad would probably have shown me it. So.
Really?
Fair. Brian.
Yeah, man, 9. Yeah, I didn't realize how much I liked it until I watched it again. Yeah, it's just, the more I think about it, Lawrence Fishburne is really is so good in this movie. Damn. Yeah, 12-year-old me probably would have watched it and probably would have been more freaked out because 17-year-old me watched it and I was still pretty freaked out. So, and was enough to maybe not watch it for, however god long it's been
20 years or something like that.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
25 years, something like that. Yeah.
All right, for myself,
I'm old, Tyler.
If you go to my letterbox, this movie is actually on my top 31 horror films of all time. And then when I watched it, I went, why is this movie in my top 31 movies of all time, or 31 horror movies of all time? And then we had this discussion and I'm like, maybe it still is. And it's because these discussions can influence the way I feel about a movie, and which I like. It's part of the reason I like these discussions. So I was going to rate it a 7, but I think it bumped back up to an 8.5. Just talking about the intricacies and the details. And I do remember being utterly scared at this film, and the eyes thing used to scare me the most. But I think because the CG isn't doing it, all the eyes, the eyes in the cutscene.
Well, all the scars on the face, too, all of that stuff is just
no, even Sam Neill, in the suit in the dream at the very end, he's all cut up,
no, totally.
Very razor bladed up. So
part of me was like, why are you cut up? What is the significance of this?
It put him back on the ship, so he wasn't on the ship, but because he got blown out. So I think it sucked him through another gateway and chained him the whole. I don't know, something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
before he disappeared, before he went out, I don't know. I was just I understood why his eyes are going and why his face was messed up.
Right, because he gouged his own eyes out. Right.
Did that. Then he had all these cuts on his face. I was just like, is it because of the glass?
Sure.
I
like that.
Cut him up. Because part of my brain was.
My whole thing was because the ship was taking him over more, and he was becoming more of this, of what the ship, where the ship has been. He's becoming more of that,
Okay.
That's the only thing I could think of. Plus, all the flashes that we see, it's just, you see these terrible. People have razor wire and barbed wire in their faces and wrapped around and that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's a representation of that crazy messed up world.
Well, if God and Christ are supposed to be pure and good in form, then this would be the opposite of that, and it would be dead flesh and tearing flesh. And
I don't know though, because they say that the devil comes to you, so he could come.
But we're not talking about the devil on earth. We're talking about the devil in hell. We're talking about what he would look like in his own form, in a sense, or the Antichrist.
And that almost kind of goes back to what that theory Tyler had mentioned too, where it's maybe the ship had sent him, and so in a way he comes in as that form of he's this scientist that is meant to be
but the scarred up is what he really looks like.
Yeah, exactly, that's what he really is.
I like that.
Slowly as people are dying, and he's now at the heart of his power, I guess you could say. Start trans a little bit more into what he looks like. I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna change my review though. I'm gonna give it an 8 because of I'm gonna give it an 8 because of Lawrence Fishburne, simply because of Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sam Neill's great
take
too.
it.
Sam Neill, I think he does a great job at I say he commits, but
Oh yeah.
but Lawrence Fishburne was just he was top tier. He was aces, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget Jason Isaac.
I'll put that up and post.
Jason Isaac's the character the actor we always tend to hate in movies because he plays the most evil people.
Oh yeah.
Was somebody you actually liked in this movie, a little bit. Anyway, we're apparently going to review another half an hour of Event Horizon, and then weirdly enough, there's enough here to really. It's like the onion reference. There's a lot of layers to this movie, even though it doesn't seem like it on the surface. So, that said, this has been episode 1 of season 2 of The Real Study. And we are happy to be back, and we will be back next week with some more horror movies because it is spooky season, and we're going to discuss that off camera and what we're going to bring to the table.
You guys, so be happy.
Yeah, and we should have the same types of segments that we had this week next week. Look forward to it. One more thing that we should tell the real students: we are likely going to be switching mediums. We are probably going to be moving off of Twitch and over to YouTube, and maybe even broadcasting on multiple locations at once so that we can really saturate the market with The Real Study. So look for us everywhere soon. That said, have a great night, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.